Better be working. It better be working. I think the microphone is working. It better be. It's not working. Turn down, turn down. Let's see here. Let's see. Testing, testing. One, two. Woo! Okay, if you were in this right here, right now, I'm gonna wait for about a good 5 minutes for everybody to get in here and get in on this subject. But while I'm doing that, I'm gonna wait a good 5 minutes before I call Kara. If you are here right now, I'm gonna wait to I'm gonna wait for folks to get in here and get in on this, and then I'll give yours a call. Okay, so we got 4 people in here right now. Hello to all 4 of you folks. We're about a minute in. We got about 4 more minutes left, and this is just gonna allow folks to get in here. So if you're in here right now, announce yourself, say something. Ease up on yourself, child. And you guys see what it says here. It's gonna be a caller that's gonna be coming in and giving her partner. What's going on here, Miss Slag? TC Celtic Gal again. This should sound definitely different now. It should, because I can see the little green lines moving down there. So I should sound a whole lot clearer to you guys than I did before. Even though to me I sounded the same with the microphone on right here, but you guys were hearing that webcam. So I kind of had to go in there and switch the webcam audio off and switch my thing over to the better mic per se. Anywho, I'm trying to get something set up here. No, it don't sound like last time. There's no way. This definitely is like, I don't think you've been here that long, Celtic gal. Celtic gal, you've not been here that long, child. You know there's the difference between this thing. You telling me somebody a bunch of bomber clod. You telling me bomber clod right now. Telling me that bomber clod. What's going on, Lilith Marie? How you doing? Hopefully everything is well with you, sis. Okay, let's see. Sound much fuller. Yeah, Celtic girl think it all sounds the same. She got to get her ears checked out. Okay. Are my generals here? Any one of my generals? Okay, we are about a good 3 minutes in, folks. I'm going to wait another 2 minutes before I go into this and making sure that my general is here. Okay. And you know what, too, folks? A lot of times you guys are not being notified whenever I'm going live either. So that's a big old thing, too. So hold on, give me a second. I'll be right back. All right. Okay, so this definitely should sound a lot different to you guys, right? Yay, nay. Donna Maggie, I'm so sorry. That's absolutely ridiculous. I know you know what, they've been doing it to a lot of us. They've been doing it to a lot of us. Hold on one second, folks. I got an incoming call right here. Let me see something. Okay, there we go. Good thing that ain't up there. Y'all would have heard all my business. No. Okay. Anyway, so Ember Slack says that Trump on the phone. Yeah. Okay, so with that being said, I'm getting ready to call Kara, and you guys see what the subject is. She's gonna give her take on it. I'm gonna let her have the floor and alpha my opinion, whatever like that, and we're just gonna go right on into it. Okay, so Kara, are you ready? Because I'm calling you. Let me switch this up a little bit. I am going to be calling you right now, and let's give her a call. Okay, your phone number just completely disappeared. Ridiculous. Don't worry though, I still have it, Kara. Crazy thing. Give me a phone. Give me a phone. It's a phone. Okay, we're calling. We hear the ringy ding ding. There it is. There she is. There she is, folks. Can you guys see her pretty? Can you guys see her pretty clear? Can you guys see her clear? They did. How are you getting that? I don't see anything yet. Everybody is saying no. You guys can't hear that at all? Can y'all hear me? Okay, that's weird. So you guys can hear me, but y'all can't hear her? Somebody said your voice is distant. Okay, let me see something here. Okay, can y'all hear her now? That's really weird. That is really weird. We're all being silenced. Okay, now what about now? Can you guys hear her? Now try something. Say they're still saying no. Hmm. Say something again. Deadwood, you can hear Kara. Well, now you got to say something now, Kara. Oh, Rob K is okay. I got an idea here. Let me see something. Let me see if this is going to change something up right here. Okay, see if y'all can hear her now. That is really weird. Oh man, come on. This can't be for real. What about now? Sounds like the cartoon thing. Wah 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 wah.
friendly with on here is telling me that they can't hear me with sound.
No, I'm not on Zoom. To me, I sound super loud. I mean, my God. I'm like blasting my own ears out. What's going on? What the heck is going on then? Okay, let's see. She sounds like we're listening on your friend's phone next to you. Man, this is really just weird. All of it's just really, really weird tonight. Yeah, but this, I mean, now that I have it on there, I mean, this should be like cake right now. I mean, maybe I need to let me see something. What about now, folks? Somebody said loud and clear. Try reloading. Yeah, we reload, we're gonna get kicked out. Today isn't just your day. What about now, folks? Somebody said, okay, there, I hear her. Not good, can't hear her. No go, yes. Y'all all seeing all kind of different things. They say stop, we say go, say yes, say no. You sound great. Her, not so much. What? It's good. It's the people that need to reload. Okay, so Ecart Troll said all you guys need to hit the refresh button. Everyone. I was about to say, okay, now it's getting if you can hear everyone, then okay, Mr. Troll, you said you can hear her. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Kara, say something again. Oh wow. Hold on. Say something again, Kara. I think I know. I think I know what's going on. I think I know what's going on here. I know what's going on here, folks. Say something again, Kara.
Okay. I was going to say back to Steven, yes, I paid my Patreon bill.
Y'all should be able to hear her now. Y'all can hear her now. Tell me that y'all can hear her.
Yay! They say yes. Good. And shut up, Rob. I'm not quiet. We know that.
There we go. There we go. Good grief.
Cool.
Ooh, I can turn this down a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to blow your eardrums out. That's not cool.
Oh no, you're good. I just had to turn the reverb down. I'll just turn the reverb up super high because it couldn't hear. So the sound that they were hearing was whenever they were able to hear you, it was because of the sound was only coming through my earphones. It wasn't coming through these speakers I have down here.
Gotcha. Shut up, Rob. Nobody could afford my lesson.
All right, good. There we go. So we are good to go.
Celtic's funny. She was calling Eckert a troll just because his name is Troll. That was funny. I like watching the comments as I'm listening.
Wow. Susan Andre, you did not miss anything. In fact, you have perfect timing because we had some audio stuff issues going on. So you came in right at the right time. Okay, now
technical difficulties.
Look, now they're saying turn it down. Is it better now?
Sounded like the Verizon guy for the last 10 minutes. Can you hear me?
Is it better now, guys? Can y'all hear her good and clear so we can get into this subject?
Yeah, I said hi again just so that you can tell me yes or no. Cool. Hi, everybody. Hi, Ramona. Hi, Laura. Hi, Susie. Hi, Celtic. Hi, Leafy. Hi, Derek. Hi, Liesel. Just Steven, you're killing me with your disgusting snacks, for the record. It's gross. Did I say hi to everybody?
I think so.
I think so. I don't want to miss anyone. That's mean.
All right, cool beans then. So now, with that being said, Kara, we're going to talk about the title says reparations. So with that being said,
yeah.
Go ahead. I want to hear your take on this.
You recently did a whole thing about reparations, which really touched me to a point, because a lot of what you said is what I feel, but I've always felt like it was too much to say to someone. Like, I feel like a lot of my issues later on in life, because as a kid I had to be an adult, and once I finally settled in a little bit and was able to breathe and maybe not kill myself so much and stuff, stemmed from a lot of problems I had with my parents. And it kind of hit me in the face becoming a parent, because I was terrified to have a child, feeling like I didn't have any parents that were successful or that were in my life for a really long time. So how could I be a parent? And, I repeated a pattern, because by the time I was having my own son, I was getting divorced. And it was like a disaster in my head. And you did the whole reparations video about, if you don't have your dad, track him down. If you don't have, your deadbeat father of your child, track them down. And it's so like an omen to me, or ironic, that you did that, because my ex-husband tracked me down. And he had heard through mutual family who did keep in touch with Lane. And, he and I hadn't spoken in 9 years, that I was doing this with you. And I guess he listened to the last video and he reached out to me. And he really, it was weird. It was awkward, but he simply just asked how Lane was, my son. Mm-hmm. And when I told him, I opened up, and, at first I was really hesitant.
Right.
Because I was like, what if he is just having a boozy night or just having a sentimental moment? And
exactly.
The fear of him abandoning him again, or coming into his life, or being a disappointment, horrifies me, the thought of it. But I talked actually in great length to my boyfriend, to some of my brothers, any of the men in my life, to say, what would you do? And it came down to where they were like, if your dad did this for you, you would jump at it, even just to have some closure or get some answers. And why not do that for Lane? What's the worst that could happen? So we got to see him recently. We found out he lives a mile from my house.
What?
All this time he's been a mile away. He knew where we lived. He knew where my house was. Apparently he has quietly stalked Lane here and there when he was going to school. Obviously he didn't do anything bad or dangerous, but he had in his own way kept track of him without us knowing.
Wow.
Which, it was crazy. And it was, I was a little taken back by it. So when I asked Lane about, your dad wants to see you, I talked to him a little bit myself. He would like to get to know you. He was adamantly against it. He was like, no. When I remember before he left, the day that he said he was coming back for me to take me for a time, I sat at the door for 8 hours, and he never ever called. He never texted. He never said another word. And you're my father, and that's the end of it. And it took me 2 weeks to break him down, to say look, this is and I gave him the same case scenario of if my dad did this, I would want this. And what if, God forbid, your dad drops dead tomorrow?
Right.
Or you know what I mean? You lost your chance. This could be bad. It could be good. I can't make you a promise of something good, but I feel like if you have anything to say, you're getting a chance. And there's a reason that God's doing this, or provoked, that this is happening.
Absolutely.
So he agreed to see him with me. He wouldn't go by himself, and we went to his house, and he's a superintendent in a building for elderly people. where
Wow.
he runs a building with 110 elderly people apartments where he's like on call 24/7 with a panel that if somebody falls and they need help, he runs. If their air conditioning doesn't work, he needs to fix it. Like he does it all basically for the building.
So he's like an administrator.
Exactly. And you know how he got that job?
How's
When I
that?
worked for the celebrity in New York, I was like the head honcho. I was 3 bosses ahead of him and hired him as my building manager so he could live in the building with me so we could stay married and be in the same
Wow.
property. So I trained him for 8 years as his boss.
Wow.
So I didn't even realize that he pursued that career because when we broke up, like I had been supporting him for a 4-year period at that point because he quit on me. And I kept my job and he never worked again after that. And like, I didn't know that he had done this, but apparently I was the reason that he has the job he has because I prepared him for it in our marriage. Which he was thankful for after we got past all like the anger and the years, I guess, apart. It was like, you know, the first thing I got was thank you for teaching me.
Wow.
You know, thank you. Thank you for teaching me a computer. Because before we met, he did 8 years in prison. So he was very institutionalized.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to fix him. That was my mentality. I'm going to fix you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and it didn't work, but at least it got him secure employment for the rest of his life.
Right. Ramona is definitely
So,
listening. Thank you, Ramona.
Thank you, Ramona. I appreciate that.
She is definitely
I really
listening.
do.
Because you know how sometimes we can be into these deep conversations, people are having their own little conversation off to the side. And this, you know, they'll say, wait, what are we talking about? And it's like, we didn't talk for 25 minutes about what we're talking about. Now they're going to try to say, wait, what happened? Who said what? Who did who? We're not going to go back
I know,
on it.
Steven. We know you can't be fixed. That's a given.
And
no, but anyway, it turned out good. I mean, it was awkward. And like Lane, my son is very shy and introverted and nervous. And my ex-husband is exactly the same. So it was kind of like, Lane, tell your dad about this, or Ken, tell your son about this. And back and forth. I was kind of like the moderator in between the two of them.
Wow. So they were like two negative ends of a magnet that when you try to do like this, they just won't even.
They look at me. Yeah, both of them. And it was interesting because my son, you know, didn't remember a lot about him. And he was like, he had good things when we left and bad things. His good thing was, you know, wow, he's not horrible. And he really seemed to be trying. And I could see how nervous he was. And like, he wanted to put his best foot forward. And I can also see like where you would give up on someone like him because he's such a loner and he doesn't want, like he has other children and he's never reached out to any of them, just me, I'm the only boy. And he thanked me in the end of like kind of saving him and rescuing him from having to worry about having somebody that would have made him a nervous wreck around him all the time.
Wow. That is absolutely wonderful. And you know what? The beauty in this is that Lane's chapter is different now. The chapter that he had before was this what my daddy did. That's the only and the last memory he had of this man was him walking out. Trust me, I've been there. I know all about that. And now,
me too.
Yeah, see exactly. Yeah, and now the opportunity now that Lane has is that he's gonna be able to have a different ending of this chapter that was once closed. That's that's abs. And you know, it's like baby steps. It's definitely gonna be baby steps.
It's definitely baby steps. He had said to him like, let's see each other again in a couple of weeks. And Lane was tentative and he said, okay. And then we didn't hear from him for a month. And Lane did ask me every week, like, have you heard from him? Have you heard from him? And then like just the last week that we hadn't, he kind of gave me like, I knew it. I'm glad I didn't get attached right away because I don't tell him, but I do love him and I worry about him. But like, I don't want him to know that that's not fair. It's not my job to be worrying about him. You should worry about me. And he was angry. And literally like 24 hours later, he reached out and he was like, is Lane going to school this year? And I was like, of course he's going to school. And he was like, no, I mean in person. And I said, no, he's going remotely. And he was like, well, I wanted to offer to buy him clothes or help you get him new clothes for school. But if he's not doing that, can he use anything? Because I'd like to help. So I was like, honestly, his feet are massive and he could really use some new shoes and he's super expensive with them. So how about if I send you like 1 or 2 pairs to look through, and if you want to help me out, pick one and I'll buy the other, and I'll have Lane get in touch with you. And he did. He actually bought all that I sent him pictures of, and he wound up buying him like 4 pairs of really nice shoes. So I reached out to him right away, and I told him how thankful we were. And then Lane picked up the phone and called him on his own accord and was like, I really can't say thank you enough. Like, you don't know how hard my mom works to support me.
That's awesome.
And like
now,
that, yeah, it means a lot. And we are going to see him this weekend for dinner.
That's awesome.
To say
so now
thank you for the shoes. I offered to take him out to dinner.
That's good. I think the great thing about it too is that whatever he may decide to want to do, like I guess next time if he asks if Lane needs anything, it'll be like, okay, how about you come and how about you come and get Lane and you guys go and get what it is that Lane wants to get, even if it's a shirt, I don't know, anything.
That's like, you're reading my mind, because that's where I want them to get to a point so they can actually build something without me, because it seems like they both cling to me to communicate. And I don't want to, like, I can understand it now, but I want Lane to be able to feel like he can talk to him. Like the fact he picked up the phone and said, I'm going to call my dad. Okay. And I was like, yes, you should say thank you. I was telling him to text him, but he was like, I think I should call. And when he did, it wound up again being a 3-way conversation. You put him on speaker and the 3 of us wind up talking. And I think it gives Lane great pleasure in a way to see that, because all he's known was the anger and hatred we had between each other. And like to see us finally like put that aside and be nice to each other and make each other laugh on Lane's behalf and tell stories to him that were good times or funny things. That's what Lane wants. I think that's what he misses, or what he feels like he wishes he had. If we're not going to be together, at least to see 2 people who it makes sense to him why he's there and how he was made and it wasn't a mistake. And, like that to him is putting so much of the pieces together for him of being here and being okay with it and not feeling like he was a mistake and abandoned and it's a struggle. Right. Now it's like, okay, you were a gift. I've been telling you that for years, but now maybe you see it. You were always a gift.
That is awesome. That is awesome to hear that. I mean, when you wrote and told me that, it was awesome. For those of you guys that are now listening and paying attention, just give y'all a little bit of a brief thing. I did a video where I was talking about how to get your reparations. And I was saying things like, if you want your real reparations, go to your father and tell him you want your reparations for him missing all your birthdays. Tell him you want your reparations for him not asking you about how you're going through. Tell him you want your reparations for not being there for you when you was going through adolescence. Tell him you want your reparations for him not being there at the school assembly or this talent show that you were in, or the basketball games or the soccer game. Tell him you want your reparations for all these different things. And just so happened that Kara's father apparently saw the video and listened and end up reaching out to her son. For those of y'all that are listening now. So that's how this all came about. So when you see that this title is saying reparations, this is like a continuation from something that I started or something that I spoke about a while ago when I was talking about reparations. And to have something like this, which is what I'm calling a complete miracle, how everything just kind of lined right up, him being a mile away and him having to be listening. And it probably got to him in some way to know that he can actually have no idea how his absence can be the very thing that can mess up a person's identity and all that. I know it can cause them to be wrathful. It's just a piece can be missing, because a lot of fathers don't know how much of a role they play in actually having a child's help formulating their identity. So that's why she's telling this story, you guys. So
I want to say thanks to everybody on the side too that said, that they were happy this happened. Like, I really do appreciate it and all the support. And, I saw what you said, Matt, about your daughter. And I got to tell you, there is always sides to others. I know other sides to the coin. You saw that you said you don't see your daughter. And for the record, my ex-husband, Lane, is 14, but he has a 31 and 32-year-old daughter, which I raised in our marriage until they both went off to college, which I paid for. And then when we broke up, Lane was an infant. And from what I know, which he didn't mention, which Lane knows, but we didn't feel we're ready to address yet, is that he does have 2 other children that are now about 3 and 6, both girls. So he has 4 girls and 1 boy. He's 50-something years old, and he doesn't have communication with any of his other children, because Lane was funny. Before we went in, I think he didn't know what to expect in conversation. And the first thing he said to me was like, what do you want to know if you don't have the guts to ask him a question? And I was like, I wanted to ask where your sisters are. And he did. The first thing he said, like his dad said, was, do you have any questions for me? And he was like, where are my sisters? And he was like, I don't know.
Wow.
And, that upset me, because I raised them for 12 years. From the time they were like single digits to 18, and they both left home when Lane was born. They were both college bound, and I never heard from them again.
Wow.
So he knows he's got sisters out there, and that's frustrating to him. Is like, in a way, he's like so happy, and another way, he's also wondering like, why him? And I said to him, I really think a lot of it is that he had these children when he was 16, 17, the first ones, and he was a kid and wasn't in a relationship with either of the moms. And now you had a 12-year marriage with me. And then apparently he's got these other kids that were, again, kind of flings. So I think maybe it has to do with the fact that Lane, again, came out of a serious marriage and a loving place at that point. Mm-hmm. And, you know, for a short period of time before we, you know, that was kind of the last ditch effort, honestly, to save the marriage. And it didn't work. But I think that's where it comes from, like the sentimentalness of him wanting a relationship with Lane, possibly, because he, as a person, didn't have a father either. And his mom died on him when he was 15 of AIDS-related complications and started him on drugs by the time he was 9. So, you know, he had like just as bad of a childhood as me, if not worse. Plus, at least I got, you know, we talked about it. I got myself out and educated myself. He went to jail. He went to prison for almost 9 years. So he didn't, you know, anything that I got him his GED within our first year of being together to try to help him.
That is
he wasn't stupid, you know, he just had no chance. He didn't go past 3rd grade. He beat up his vice principal the 3rd time they tried to get him through 3rd grade, and he got kicked out of school permanently.
Wow.
Yeah, he really was a part of the system. It was bad.
That is absolutely awesome. I think the benefit of that too is that, like, with Lane, whatever the sisters now, if he knew how many other brothers and sisters that my dad had, I mean, none of us is in the digits, double digits. And we found all of our other brothers and sisters as well, you know, through being online. And the thing about it is that it was about us connecting and having that thing where we actually can say, oh, wow, I mean, you start to get around your brothers and sisters and you get to see like all these similarities that you have. So it's not about like we were trying to connect with each other for the sake of our dad. We want to connect with each other for the sake of this is my sister and this is my brother. See, like where I'm with me, there is no half. Like my dad got kids by a ton of other women, but those children that he had, we don't look at that saying that is my half sister or my half brother. No, that's like to us, it's like that's my brother, that is my sister. You know, so.
Right. And I completely agree with that. I mean, you know, I was adopted and then my sister who's Black was adopted. We're from the same orphanage, but different biological parents. And then the parents who bought us divorced when we were really little. And my mom went on to remarry 3 times, had 2 stepchildren, 1 natural child, and adopted a boy from America, who is the brother you see a lot on my Instagram. That's her son. But he's technically adopted. She only has 1 biological child. But I call them all brother and sister. My dad had 4 more kids biologically. And then my biological brothers found me through a Facebook group 10 years ago this October. So I have like 3 families at this point. I don't speak to my dad and his wife, but I do speak to his children. And my mom and I made peace when I was pregnant. She didn't raise me. My dad wanted us in the divorce, so I didn't have any relationship with her for about 20 years. And when I was pregnant, I didn't have my father anymore either, and I didn't have anybody from my ex-husband's side. So I kind of hit her up, and I was like, listen, my son needs a grandmother. And, like, I really want to put the past behind us. You know, like, I need to make some peace with you because I know it wasn't your fault you didn't get us in court, and it wasn't my fault that I didn't fight for you because I was, like, 7. So, you know, we need to forgive each other for whatever we're mad at because my son needs a grandma, and I really want to try to have some kind of parent in my life finally because I'm becoming one, and I'm terrified. You know, she took it really well into heart, and we became very close now over the last 14 years. And she's a wonderful grandmother. My stepfather is a good grandfather, and I'm really lucky for that. So I'm only grateful that, you know, I had the guts to do that because I didn't have any kind of relationship with her. And, you know, my father and I are kind of a lost cause, but we have so much bad history. You know, he was just he was a tough guy, and he had a lot of addictions and demons, and you know, he wasn't looking for kids. He wanted like friends. So it was different. It wasn't good. But out of all the kids, you know, my biological brothers, when they found me, it was hard because my siblings were freaked out. My mother was freaked out, you know, like you're bringing in people who are 100% my blood relatives. And National Geographic actually studies us every 3 years. They follow me around for 2 days, and there were 3 of us to start. We now found 2 more brothers, 2 more sisters. And they follow us around for 2 days individually, and then they spend time with us as a group for about a weekend to see what they can find out is genetic versus environment in our traits, and also see how we're bonding, because we're the most found siblings in South American history.
What? And it's on National Geographic?
Yeah. South American National Geographic. It'll come out again next year. They just finished filming us this last 2 weeks ago, because they couldn't do it with COVID. But yeah, they follow us around and get a feel for what we're like as people, and then they sit with us together. And first, initially, they'll put like the 3 of us who have known each other the longest together, because we are really tight. Actually, on my YouTube channel, if you put my name in, one of the videos that you'll see is my brothers and I meeting for the first time 10 years ago in New York City. The actual first meeting. And I was really against it, frankly. I never looked for my anything to do with my adoption. I never searched for family. I was totally not interested. And on this stupid group that I joined when I was pregnant, my ex-husband pushed me to join, because he was like, look, I'm orphaned, you're orphaned. This is way before DNA was like really big deal. And you should try to reach out to your orphanage and find out what the hell you really are. And I was like, okay. And I joined a Yahoo group, which turned into a Facebook group called Adopted from Colombia. And I just saw this one guy all the time for like 3 years in a row, just looking just with such passion and such hurt and sadness that it broke my heart, but I never said a word. But I could feel like his pain of just desperately trying to find someone. And all of a sudden, one day he popped in and he was like, I found my brother. He's in Colorado, and this is his name, and we're going to meet up soon, and blah, blah, blah. And I felt so happy for him. I commented on his Facebook post, like, dude, I've been following you for like 5 years, and I'm so happy for you. Just want to let you know.
Wow.
And that was it. And he instant messaged me within like an hour, and he's like, can you do me a favor? Anybody who's in this group, I've asked, because I do like hardcore investigations and stuff, like tons of money into this. Can I see your adoption papers? And I was kind of like, no. And I was mean for about a week. And finally I was like, oh, all right. And I showed it. I sent him a picture of it. He's like, dude, we have the same birth mom. And I was like, no, we don't, because it's a lie. It's bogus. I was bought. He's like, yeah, so was I. Look at my paper. Look at my new brother's paper. Wow. We have the same thing. And he sent me a DNA test after me telling him to F off for 2 weeks. And I took it, and within 3 days of us finding out the results, we all flew in. Well, our brother from Colorado flew into New York, and he was already in Long Island. I was in New York City downtown. So we literally passed each other on the street every single day for about 15 years and never knew it.
That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And you said it. I didn't even know you. Well, I guess I never asked anyway, but I didn't know that you had a YouTube thing.
Yeah, I just have a few videos. I like my bat, pictures of a bat, or like, and that's pretty much it, the adoption stuff, because my brother, we know that we're still missing about 6 more siblings. So
wow.
He's still looking. He puts a ton of money and energy and time into it, because he just is so, I had a rough adopted family. So did he. That was our first initial bond, was like, okay, but I didn't really like fit in with my parents. And I was like, me either. Believe me, it was weird. Like the other siblings all were very happily adopted into wonderful families. And it's not that my family was so horrible, but it was not okay either. It was traumatic and abusive, and so was his.
Oh, is it a YouTube thingy under your name, or? Yeah,
it's under Caroline 503. And Celtic girl, no, I'm not Venezuelan. With my DNA, I'm actually like 68% Ua tribe, Native Indian, which is the oldest tribe in South America, and it's located in Colombia, which is where I was born likely. I don't have any birth certificate, and I have no hospital records, which means I was probably born on like the tribal area in the northeast coast of Colombia.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, it's funny too with this conversation, because we talked about like, why do people want to get out of places and stuff? I think a lot of adoptees have very similar issues, which I didn't jive with a lot, which is why I didn't feel a loss of heritage, of culture. Like a lot of people feel this way growing up, because you're in a white family. and you look nothing like them, and you're expected to take on, yeah, my parents are Irish, so that's your history, but you're not. And it's not. And it's weird to ask somebody to do that or believe that because it's a lie.
Right.
And like my whole thing was that when we talk about like getting out of somewhere, it wasn't getting out of my family per se. It was for me from the time I can remember, 3, 4 years old, I have to earn my keep. What if I fail and they're disappointed they bought me? What if I don't live up to whatever they're hoping for and what they put into the effort to get me? And that was like the initial stem of like, I have to do well. I can't fail. What if I let these people down?
Right.
Look what they did. They saved my life because somebody else threw me out.
Man.
So that's what I lived under for most of my life until I finally got to a point where after being a mom of like, okay, I'm cool with it all now. You know, like I feel like it came full circle to a point. I was the first one to have an American, you know, in my heritage now, especially because I have biological, the first American, the first person, you know, born here. I'm the matriarch of a huge family.
Man.
So it's crazy.
So,
but that's where it stems from too. You know, like I have to be worthy.
So do you think that might have been a driving force as well as you getting to like a really good successful spot that you were in? As a fact that if you did not have that motivating, the fact
that it wasn't, you know, like again, yeah, did I have privileged childhood financially, materially? Yes. In every other way, no. Completely the opposite. I mean,
once you ran away,
once I ran away, I ran away because I mean, the last wife my dad married was only 5 years older than me, and I was 14. And you know, he's obviously in his 40s, so it was weird. And he kept having young children. Plus, he was using drugs with me and only me as the children. But I mean, we had bad drug and alcohol habits together. We were buddies like that, and I was really burning out. And I just couldn't get it to stop. And I was like, I have to leave because, and he was physically abusive, mentally abusive. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm only 14 and I'm like ready to end my life at this point because I can't keep doing this and keep the pace up. So I left home and my sister came with me. And I think at that point too, it was like, okay, in one way I felt like I failed because my family just in my mind they never said they loved me. They never said they cared about me or they were like, it wasn't that kind of upbringing. So it was very cold and aloof and difficult. And you always wonder what you're doing wrong because you're constantly told what you're doing wrong. And you're not this, you're not that. And once I left, it was not only am I going to prove them all wrong, but I'm going to make something of myself because there's got to be a reason that God put me here. I can't not believe that because technically I should be God knows where in an Amazon jungle somewhere. You know what I mean? Like I don't belong here to a point. So somebody saved me or God saved me for a freaking reason. And I still have to make the most of this because if I fail, then how can I do that? How can I do that to myself? I was already rescued.
That is amazing. So all that stuff that happened, I mean, you know, you hear this and you experience all that, and you know that even though it may not seem like a lot of times when we go through stuff, we figure like we always, I mean, it's natural to wonder what for, but you have no idea that those very things, I'm not saying that they had to happen, but at the same time, I'm going to say like, as far as had they not happened, is it a possibility that you wouldn't be shaped and molded into who the person you are today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if like I think about that stuff a lot. Like if everything would have went right with how things should have went as far as fatherlessness and all that. If the father was there the whole time, whatever. I know. Yeah. Would I be differently than what I am now?
I think somebody just called me a narcissist.
Somebody. They did. Who said that?
Bourgeois, Texas, unless it's not related to me, but it said my grandiose personality is attributed with narcissism. We listened to this from the beginning to pay attention to the details. I'd like to know why, because frankly,
who said that?
Bourgeois, Texas. I don't know if that was definitely about me, but I would have to assume in the conversation. I'm not sure.
I don't. Well, I mean, whoever you said it, you can directly ask them now.
I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Bourgeois, Texas. Is that directed at me? that I'm a narcissist? Or is it he? Oh, Celtic said maybe he meant my dad. Yeah, well, again, it's like another repeated pattern. If that was the case, my father also was a 40s war baby whose mother was a single mom in the 40s, which was unheard of. And his dad was MIA by the time he was 2. So, I mean, we want to talk about poverty stricken, like can't afford meat, can't afford new clothes this year, that kind of thing, to the point of where once he became wealthy, it was like, I'll never eat one bad meal again in my life, probably where I get the food from. I'll never, ever wear anything but the finest clothes. I'll never have anything but the best cars. Like, he went to such an extreme level because he felt so, like, I guess, like he lost all of that. He didn't have anything like that until he was successful. So, I can understand where it came from, like how he behaved to a point, but it was beyond excessive, even for the 80s. Like, really bad, hard to be around, like walk in the house and I have to hide the Tiffany ashtrays full of cocaine from my friends, that kind of place. So it wasn't easy. But I don't know. I'm not getting answered on that, so.
Right. I have no idea who the comment was at either, but I just asked them, whoever it was. Who they're referring to.
I don't know. I'm called a lot, but not usually a narcissist. I kind of care too much about other people for that, I think.
Right. Right, because, I mean, I get called all kind of stuff. I mean.
Oh, my God. The guy the other night was hilarious. The only time I took offense was when he was saying negative stuff, honestly. You're like, there's no need for name calling. It lowers you so much to be insulting like that. Like he said, to even say, like, coming, to remind your subscribers, like, you don't need to clap back and all that. Like, I agree with you completely, because believe me, I'm the first one who's going to defend you too.
Yeah, I know, and, lethal and non-lethal.
That's your first instinct,
I said I knew. That's why I knew. That's why I made that. That's why I made that little disclaimer.
He's not worth it, because he's not the kind of guy who would be able to sit in a room with someone like you or with me, who has the experiences that we have, the knowledge, the education, blah, 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 who would actually listen with an open ear the way that we would give him the chance to do,
right,
to understand where he was coming from.
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's beating a dead horse.
Yeah, and I think the thing is too, like I said, a lot of people say things like, "Hey, like I got people that wrote me emails and said, Ty, they were like, dude, why did you even waste your time?" I'm like, y'all, don't forget. I think when it all comes down to it, not enough people listen to me when I said, guys, I'm using this also as training purposes for my mentorees, to show them that this is how you conduct yourself and this is how people are going to come at you, because they have no idea how many videos or emails I get from people that just completely is slamming me. But just to show them, and I specifically picked his video for the reason of the fact that how he actually just jumped in it. And even though he felt that he was defending black people, but the way that he was talking came off just like how a lot of black folks feel white folks think about them. Y'all don't know nothing. Like, he called me uneducated, he called me ignorant, and then turned around and say, white people smoke weed too. I was like, well, God damn, he put all kind of stereotypes down without even knowing. I loved how
he ended it with these people.
Yeah,
like,
see?
Bro, you just negated anything that I could have seen where you were coming from. You completely negated it. It was like somebody, my dad said one thing that, he gave me a few stupid things that you remember, you hang on to somebody's words. And he used to always say to me, when you say a sentence, if you use the word but in it, just remember you're negating what you just said before you spoke. So be very careful how you linguistically use that word. And I stick to that rule to this day, because it's 100% right. And the fact that he turns around and he's saying, da, 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 but these people, right there, bro, you lost me. Right there, we're done. It's over. Because you just completely showed me who you really were without even realizing it, because you, frankly, without being rude, are too stupid to realize you just did that.
I said,
frustrating.
Yeah, and then I think it's for him to sit there and say all these things like he claimed that he experienced. I'm like, well, if he experienced all these things, he should have known that a few things you don't call black folks is these people, and then you don't call black folks ignorant, which he called me ignorant. Then you don't call black folks uneducated, because pretty much that's what the N-words really means. And I'm like, did you not? He didn't even realize, like, dude, you are like being the epitome of what racist people are by saying. I mean, he had no, but again,
he really was. I was like, dude, this guy has too much time in his hands. I wish I had that much time to rip someone apart.
Well, when the video came open, he actually, I guess, matter of fact, it was the night after I did the whole reparations and trying to say that you want people's house. He was so mad that he woke up he couldn't even sleep. He woke up the next morning to make that video. And
maybe he's a deadbeat dad, or maybe he did something wrong that he's feeling that kind of guilt that he had to go on the rampage that he did.
Because you get to thinking bro, he triggered. I'm like, what is really going on?
He was triggered, bro. He really triggered. Oh my God. Oh, and by the way, I'm seeing on the side, thank you, Scott, for what you said. I'm seeing your comments, guys. I do appreciate everything that you said. And I agree. I think that God definitely had a plan with me. And when you spend most of your life, like, probably thinking way more than the average person of like, why am I here? And if I don't do things like of great grandeur almost to where it's beyond successful, to not just to me, because to me right now, successful is that I'm freaking happy, I'm healthy, and I have a wonderful child and boyfriend, like family. Like, I'm good. If I got hit tomorrow by a car, I'm okay. That's what I wanted in life and didn't know it till a certain point. But like before that, I spent probably a lot more time with my life wondering, like, why am I here? What am I missing? What am I not doing right? Because I got rescued. And like, I grew up with that mentality of like, I have to do something big or special or significant, even if it's just for one person in life, to be worthy of what God gave me.
Right. Exactly. It's just, I think, I knew once, folks seen these certain like the video with that guy, people and what it did is that it just shows a lot of people where how folk, like, the fact that he can actually, everything about me that he assumed about me, you guys all that's been with me for a year, 2 years, whatever like that, y'all seen the nights that we spent talking live about certain issues and the things we done for people. Everything that he said about me was the complete opposite. And it's just amazing that some folks see that's what I'm saying, it messes things up, because right there's a prime example of how it's on both sides, how we automatically have this assumption about somebody. And the whole point is that, then throughout it, folks he didn't even really say nothing that I did. This guy, he said all kind of, he's ridiculous. He shouldn't be giving no advice. He's just ridiculous. It's like, what?
He doesn't have the right space. Like, that's really what was frustrating to me, besides the name calling, which is just immature. The fact that it's like, if you know something about this, like, we can go to Google right now and look up people in a million, who have, for whatever reason, a wiki page, and you can see their background. And if you want to riff on someone and their background like that, where it's just in black and white, and you can say that about somebody, okay, I can deal with that you have different feelings for a certain reason. But there is nothing like that. And unless he has been a follower for a couple of years and heard your chats and heard your background and your accomplishments, your education, who you are as a human being, seen your ministry channel, anything, it would have made sense to me for him to, okay, then refer to those things and tell me why you think negatively about that. Don't just say this guy's a jerk. Because like, you sound like a jerk.
Then he's like, he just needs to shut the H up. I was like, this dude is really mad. So when I see things like that, and then they'll tell folks a lot of times that, imagine that being like out in the public, like you publicly speaking, and folks come at you like that. And it's real funny because when I've done this so long that I always will say to this. Matter of fact, like him doing what he did right there. If he was in this room sitting next to me right now, a completely different person. He would not. Most folks that are like that, they never come. They see when they got like, either when they got the crowd behind them, or like they're able to hide behind their computer, they'll come at you in all kind of ways. But when we face to face, it's all that. What I really was a little upset about is that, whenever
if you guys came to face, because he has such white guilt, it would definitely have been a different story, because you are a black man. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. You know what I mean? Like, he's saying one thing in how he feels like black people or minorities or anyone should be treated, and yet he's behaving in a totally different fashion. Mm-hmm. So he's really contradictory just in the way that he presents himself versus what he's preaching and yelling about. You're yelling about these people are made slaves. These people we did them all wrong, blah, 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 blah. First of all, you said these people. So right there, you're again a racist, but you put that aside, like, you don't even know what you're talking about. No. Like, you don't know who you're talking about. it sounded so ignorant to me. If he wasn't such a dick, I would have felt sorry for him. But he just came across like the kind of guy you're just like, I can't. I would walk away. I'd have to chuckle and walk away.
Yeah.
Because there's no getting through. There's no conversation to be had.
Right.
He's,
And see, something like that, as a person like that, whenever I do encounter folks like that, I actually let them get all of it out. I don't interrupt them or let them stop. I just sit there like, and then when they get done, I'll say something like, are you finished? Okay, now let me. They be like, I don't want to hear nothing you got to say. Okay, but I'm glad I was there to help you as a therapist to get that off your chest. I should have just had a little leather chair for you to kind of vent, because that's pretty much what you did. But if you don't want me to rebuttal or say anything, then I know that you just want to vent. So what messes a lot of people up, and that's why I try to teach the young ones, is that you can't. I mean, don't get me wrong. We know. Come on, we've been here. We got a Black History Month, but we know exactly how our ancestors were treated. We know what was done to them. But what I was always get at is that has nothing to do with what's going on today. It's not going on today. So don't try to use nothing old to get me triggered for nothing that's going on right now. And that's the whole deceit in it, is that if you tell me, if you tell me something about my father that he did years ago, if I start to think and dwell on that, I'm going to instantly get ticked off at him as if it's happening to me right now. So therefore you get a response out of me right now for something that happened over 20, 30 years ago. So this was hundreds of years ago. And you tell me we still have to get people triggered. You still got to go back and talk about what happened to Black folks hundreds of years ago, because if that's the case, how come nobody's doing that? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not making no comparison, but you don't see no uprising with the Jews every 4 years, or no race war with what they did to us, the Jews. I mean, you don't see that. But why is it that that's what I tell folks. So when it comes down to it, know that a card is being played. They're only doing it for a reason. That's why I made my little video the other day talking about players. Players will tell you anything you want to hear. They will pursue you. They will make you feel special. They will do all these things for you with one thing in mind. That's to get from you what they want. And once they get it from you, they gone. You can't even call them. They done with you. They won't even, hey, I thought you liked me. Yeah. But once they get what they want to out of you, they are done. And I just noticed that since I started doing my research and studying, the way I can present to the people that I grew up with around the hood and the streets, they understand what a player is. But if I try to put it in more corporate terms, they don't know what I'm talking about.
Believe me.
They're like, I can't. Oh, yeah. So that's what they're doing. I'm like, that's what they're doing. That's why in the hoods that we stay in, it's the only thing they've done for our hood since I was a kid by Chicago, or even in Decatur, Illinois. The only thing they did was put a police camera in there. But the houses still ran down, roofs all caved in. They got darn blue tarp on top. They haven't fixed nothing, but they're going to keep on telling you when the election come around, yeah, we got to get y'all together. We got to get these neighborhoods better. We got to do all this. We got to do this. We got to get y'all some this. We got to get y'all some funding for these houses. Y'all, we got to get, and when they vote for them folks, boop, can't find them.
Yeah.
They got played.
They're out.
They hit it and quit it.
People like that to me feel like they commit verbal entrapment to a point. You know what I mean? Like, in a way, it's like you're kind of like trapping me to try to get me to set up to say something or believe something or behave a certain way. And in the end, it's basically just to serve yourself. It's never to serve anyone else, which is the frustrating part of it. It's always for your own benefit. It's never for anyone else's. And that's what's frustrating. It really is. Right.
And the thing is that that's why I always say, no matter what, I tell people, even do it with me, because the fact that I have nothing to hide, I tell people, be skeptical of everything. Question whoever tries to come and wants to do something for you or help you in any kind of way. I tell people, even do it with me. Weigh it out and see what my real intentions are. You know what I'm saying? Weigh it out. Yeah, because it's one of two things. I'm either there to try to get something out of you, or the other thing is going to be I'm legitimately there trying to help and serve you. It's going to come down to those two things. That's it. It's either I'm going to try to get something out of you that's going to benefit me, or I'm there to serve you, which is going to benefit you. And that's what people don't weigh. They don't weigh it out. They just fall right into it and end up getting hurt in the end.
Exactly. And I was telling you last month too, because we were talking about how it is in the hood and stuff, about my best friend, Ashley, who you see a lot on my Instagram. She was going through the same thing. I mean, she's still in the hood. She's a single mom with a 2-year-old kid. And, you know, when the last couple of months, she's dealing with the struggle, like as usual. And we got her GED together. I tutored her. She got her GED because she was a high school dropout. She's also sober now 7 years. So she got herself together. But I pulled a few strings because she is like really, really creative, and I think that she missed her calling with maybe working at TV or film, and she starts a new job in 2 weeks with MTV, working with Teen Mom, her favorite TV show. Because I knew somebody who worked there from a long time ago, and I still worked in the city full time. And I think it's like, again, there's no systemic holding you back. She actually applied and went through a really rigorous application process. But the bottom line is that, like, it's going to allow her to get off welfare. It's going to allow her to get off food stamps. It's going to allow her to get off of Section 8. And I have total confidence that she's going to kill this job and do a great job. So, again, it's never, and this is a girl who's a high school dropout, former addict. You know what I mean? Like, anybody can do it with their mindset to it. So you don't need to always rely on, like, people saying to you, I can help you do this, I can help you do that, or I can get you out of this. No, because it's always preached to you that you should stay where you are and be happy with it. And then around election time, everybody's going to get you out and do things for you, and then they disappear.
Yeah.
And you're stuck at square one as always.
That's
which
right.
Sucks.
That's right. That's crazy. I mean, it's just really sad though, because so many people are in it, and then their parents would even, when they get to a certain age, the parents would even say things like, "Oh yeah, I want you to use your grandmama address since you 17 and act like you live there. Then you can get $500 in food stamps, even though you still live with me. So all together, we gonna have like $1,700 of food stamps coming in, and then we can." I mean, it's crazy.
It is. I know people who do that really badly. I mean, because I do still keep in touch with some people who didn't get out. Like when I lived in the hood, I still do have friends who are there who just never left and are content, I guess, being where they are. The ones who got pregnant in high school and got married young and just never really had a career or pursued education. And it's frustrating for, I can listen to them and be friendly and do niceties, but we can't really get into stuff because they think I'm weird for doing what I did and wanting what I wanted. And I think they're weird to stay there and be like, they're okay with it. And now they're raising children to be okay with it.
Wow.
So it's like our principles just don't mesh. And in the end of the day, I can't relate to them because I don't understand why it's okay. Why you think it's all right to just live in that fashion when you're struggling, like every month, wondering where this is, or having to lie, cheat, and steal in order to live better. Like you're saying, like, oh, well, my brother lives here and we're going to use this address for this thing. And we're going to say that we have no car, even though we do in this person's name. And like, oh my God, I think it's more of a job to live the lie like that so that you can have what you have than to just be straight up and do some hard work.
Right. And when what's funny about it though, the Kara, is that if they do decide to do the right thing, they'll find out. Like me, once I got into what I'm doing right now, I was like, man, like me hustling through college and all that and doing what I did, me having to do that was a lot less hustle than hustling on the streets. I mean,
exactly.
I didn't have to worry about looking over my shoulder. I didn't have to worry about what's the intentions of the person that's walking towards me. I mean, it was none of that stress was on my mind. I didn't have to worry about like, oh my God, the street light came on, time to go in. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what am I talking about? You know what I mean? I didn't have to worry about asking everybody at the lunch table if they're going to eat because most people threw their apples and milk away. I'm like, I didn't have to worry about asking them if they wanted their apples or their milk so I can have something to eat. I mean, it's just amazing. But yet at the same time, going to hustle and walking the streets and running this over to this house, getting this money, taking this back, taking the risk of somebody robbing me, being a kid and all that. I mean, I was just like, man, I mean,
I'm going to keep it real. At the time it was time to go to college, I had been offered an academic scholarship and a sports scholarship to play soccer or softball. And I declined all of it because I was afraid that I didn't know how, with the schedule I was keeping with the 2 jobs I already had at the time, I was going to be able to be a good student or not. I was nervous about it. And I was afraid if I screw up, I'm going to lose the scholarships and I'm out of college like that fast. So I said, let me just pay this on my own cash basis every semester. And let me tell you, it came down to where my decision was going to be, okay, do I hustle on the street because I can do it because I'm smart and I was cocky and egotistical and thought I could get away with it? Or do I do what I did and wind up having a legit job, going to school and stripping all night in a really high-end club where I was at least safe and not prostituting myself so that I can make the kind of money I needed to support myself, my sister, and our college and a place for us to live that was decent so we weren't scared to come home at night.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. And you know what? I'm glad I made that choice because if not, I would have been doing the same thing like you're saying, hustling on the side of the street. Plus, I was a cute young girl, so God knows what kind of business I would have had. Like, God knows what kind of danger I'd have been into. And God help me if I had gotten arrested or got busted. That's I'm done. What am I going to do? I'm arrested for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm totally screwed. So like, that's what changed. That's really the fear of that stuff is what made me say, you know what, I'm going to do this even though I'm terrified. I'm going to do it because it's going to pay for this, what I need at the end of the day. And the minute that I get graduated and I'm on a career path, I'm done. And that's exactly what I did.
That's awesome.
And, you know, God bless my sister because she was so shy. She was 10 times more beautiful than me, but she was so damn shy and insecure and introverted that I was like, I'll take care of it for both of us. And I did because she just, you know, I wasn't going to put her in that situation. She was so much younger. She's only 6 months younger, but I feel like I felt like I was like 100 years older than her because she just was so, you know, such a kid and different personality. So, but like, you know, I'm not ashamed of it. And I did what I had to do. But again, it was like, I did have those choices in my head the same way you did. Am I going to do this on the street and like really risk my neck like this and possibly ruin my life? Or am I going to do it the more up and up way, even though it's not glamorous. It's going to pay for my college so I can get the hell out of there.
Right. That's what I said. You took care of business. You did what you had to do. And one thing about that is that most folks will look at that and judge it and try to say things like, oh, why in the world? You could have had all kind of different, you could have done other things. It's like, no, but they don't understand the predicament you're in, the mindset you're in. And pretty much, you know, you use what you knew as an ability to be able to make the ends and the meat and the money that you needed to take care of the thing that you had going on at the time.
Cheap. You know that. We all know that. And I was going to Princeton University at the time. That's one of the most expensive schools in the whole freaking world. And I had to pay for it, cash money, everything, you know, anything. And my sister was going to school within a year too. So it was like, I have 2 college tuitions to pay. I'm, you know, 17 years old. What the hell am I doing? You know, I had a legit job. I went to school and I had an all-night job and I worked like an idiot for 5 years, but it was worth it. I got my degree. I wound up getting 3 degrees by the time I was done with school. And I totally did the job that I wanted to do. I got lucky and I worked my ass off, literally. So, you know, and I didn't do anything that I felt was pushing the bar. Like I said, I didn't prostitute myself. I didn't go home with a client. I didn't let them in my life personally. Like I took my job. I'm always a professional. No matter what my job is, I was professional. So, you know, that was at least something I had on my side, but it wasn't easy, man. It definitely wasn't.
Man, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's the thing about it is that I love hearing. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in here that are listening, what you're talking about right now, it might be something somewhat of inspiring to some folks and know that there's all kind of different avenues because, you know, no matter what it was, it's amazing how I tell people all the time, they might not know it. People not even believe when I tell them this. When you start to think about where you want to get and what your goal is, I'm telling people all they have to do is focus on that goal. Don't worry about how you're going to get there, but keep your mind set on the goal. And then things just boom, 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 boom. Like you didn't, I mean, don't get me wrong. You was focusing on doing what you needed to do. And then that opportunity became available. And so you took the opportunity to do what you needed to do to get there. Some folks' opportunity might have been just detailing cars. And, you know, somebody opportunity might have been just driving, you know, going around driving just a school bus, or I don't know, whatever the case may be. But the thing is, with that goal being in mind, all of a sudden it seemed like stuff just lined up. Boom, this is what you're going to do to get there to where you need to get, because this is what the ability that you got and what your talent you have to do. And I don't care if it was dancing, you had the ability and the talent to do that, to make the means that you needed to get to your final goal. It's like a lot of times people say things like, you know, well, all I look at is this. I tell people, God doesn't look at you for what you did or what you even are, but he look at you for what you will become. And that's what the whole thing is. Not about where you at right now. It's about what you're going to be in the end. What are you going to become? But folks, well, I don't know if I'd have done all that.
I think Lisa had my back because I think I may have not offended someone, but maybe tweaked someone when I admitted what I did. Because Lisa was like, no more.
I think
somebody I don't think was in agreement or didn't like hearing that to a point. Thanks, Avery.
No, you perked Avery ears up when you hear a stripper.
No, I think that I offended a woman in here, possibly Rebecca, and Lisa kind of shot out, you know, don't be judgmental, and the comments got erased, but I caught them. Scott, you're always offended. I can live with that.
Wait. I don't know if she
There
was
is a
talking
woman
to you.
above whose messages got deleted because I think Liesel decided to get them out and said, "Don't be judgmental."
Oh, they were making that comment referring to you.
I'm not sure if it was me or if it was somebody else they're talking politics.
Yeah, that's what
about.
makes
I'm
it
not
so
sure.
different. That's why I say now. That's why it makes it so different because they didn't actually address you or anything.
Yeah,
so
she put me down because I had said that I stripped. She wasn't being very nice, and that's okay. Look,
wait, time out.
Look.
Time. She said, "Oh, Celtic girl, you said she was putting Kara down because of her profession. That's not Kara's profession.
Yeah, that's not my
She
profession.
doesn't do that now, folks.
Rebecca, if you're still there, because I know I offended you by it, that got me through college to get my profession. And after I got my first degree and I was making a good living and I worked for a celebrity, which is a funny story too, how I got that job because it was over an argument in the street with the guy I wound up working for. But long story short, like once I was on payroll with him and working, I actually worked a full-time job with him and then got a second degree and then a third degree when I left New York. So, I was able to continue my education up until I had my son because I kept going back to school because not being positive what I wanted to completely do. But yeah, no, look, it's not, I know that there's a stigma to women who do that to a point, but I never get offended by it and I'm never ashamed of it because I legit paid my college and my sisters with it. And I'm a successful businesswoman because of it. So at the end of the day, and I live the life that I want to. I'm able to do what I want to. I'm independent and I've always been that way. I've never had to rely on a man for somebody who was a stripper.
Right.
So let's put it that way.
That's the key thing it's the key thing is that's why I literally made that statement when I said he doesn't look at you for what you are or what you have been, but look at you for what you will become.
Exactly.
So and the thing is, and I mean, God, Rebecca, you thought stripping. I mean, she did that. I didn't shot at people and was selling. I was hustling drugs when I was like, 11, 12, 13 years old. And I didn't kill
animals. Doing them. So, I was not exactly the same either as a kid.
And to be quite honest, I mean, to let y'all, I don't know if you was here on this particular night when I told people how a lot of the drug game works. I mean, you would have been the person that like a lot of my family members would have came after because most of the people that they came after were career goal oriented people that worked in the strip club because they knew, okay, if this girl is stripping in a strip club and she don't care about, pretty much having little to no clothes on, then surely she'll work in a house because we know that she'll work in there, she'll do what she need to do and she'll get out. They'll tell you, we'll pay you more than what the strip club is giving you. And they look for people that were goal oriented because they knew you weren't going to mess up your career track or anything like that. So, I mean, people don't even know like the real deal when this stuff goes on. So, I mean,
no, dude, let me tell you something. I worked for a really high end place in New York City. Okay. And this is going back to the late 80s, early 90s when it was all Russian, tall, exotic white women. And I was very exotic for the time and athletic. And I was saying I was 21 when I was 15. So, and I got away with it. So the fact there was no worrying about checking ID and false and fake ID was easy. And it was a high-end place where you couldn't strip completely all your clothes off. There were bouncers to take us back and forth to our cars. It was, I made sure I wasn't in a dive per se because I was terrified already. And I'd be perfectly honest with you, the first year out, I couldn't get on and do anything without having a bottle of booze, some kind of drug, and throwing up before I could actually get myself out there because I was that scared every single time. But all I would say to myself is, I gotta pay the rent. I gotta make sure we can go to college. I gotta make sure that we don't have to go back home. Right. We have to make it. So I did it.
Right. I think, if what you're saying now, you know what, like I know that's why we both can relate on a lot of stuff because a lot of people have no idea what it's like to be in a place of sure utter desperation where you see, like right now, I know just from talking to you, I know you can relate to this too. Even a lot of people that are on welfare right now, where we say they live paycheck to paycheck, that right there was, and then when I got to the point to where I was able to do stuff going paycheck from paycheck, that was a step up because it was a time where if I can just, my thing at one point was like, if I can just be able to eat today, like I didn't care if there was no power or no electricity or no running water. I just had to make sure, number one, that I had to eat. I need to find some way. And once my food got covered, then I moved to the next extreme. Okay, now I got to figure out where I'm going to sleep at. Okay, now I got to figure out where I'm going to sleep at if it's going to be some air or heat or whatever. I mean, it was pretty bad. And folks don't know, if you've never been in that position to where you're in that desperation, you have to really humble yourself. I know what it's like.
I remember the first month that like my sister and I were out, and I told you we got beat up a lot, and we were learning how to adjust to the hood. We legit, I think the first week, like after the first month, I was awarded by the state $200 in child support for both me and my sister. So we had $400 to live on a month. And that's not a lot of money, which we all know, especially even then. So we would choose between the two of us an economy size one food that we could live on for the month and share without going overboard. Like one month, I think the first month we got, and I can't eat them anymore because it reminds me of it, was this huge economy size like cheese balls thing, you know, like where you could like the Planters cheese balls. We got a huge economy size one at a welfare pantry and literally lived on that for a month. I think the next month we did maraschino cherries, like massive jars, because that's all we could afford to eat.
Man, I hear you.
It was that or electricity.
Yep.
And it was like, we need the electric. So, you know, I guess we're going to have to eat this for a month. And we would do that until I got on my feet, was working a little bit and getting some money. And it was really like that. So when you're at a point where you're like, okay, I can only eat 3 handfuls of this today. So I'm going to eat like 2 this morning at 9 and then 2 at 11 and then 1 at noon. Like that's a hell of a way to live.
Exactly.
And a hell of a way to like think, because you're literally starving and there's nothing you can, there's no one to turn to, there's no place to go. And I also had too much pride to do anything like that. Like you said, I wasn't going to go on food stamps. I wasn't going to I just had too much pride and I was tough like that. And so was she. I'll give her the credit too. She was the one who, you know, after a couple of weeks realized what we got ourselves into pretty quickly besides the physical beating up. And she was just like, she was ready to go home. And she really, really just, after I got shot, she was like, I can't leave you because now I'm scared and you're totally by yourself. So, you know, we kind of got each other through it. But when you live like that, it's
right.
And your kids, like, that's, you don't know if you're going to eat. You don't know if your electric's going to be on or not the next day. You don't know if you're going to have water. You don't know if you're going to get your ass kicked just because you walked outside. That's a messed up way to live. And I don't understand, again, we go back to it, how people are okay with that. I just don't understand. It was horrifying. And Susie, I saw your comment. I do have books coming out. I mentioned it a few times. Next year they'll be out. I have 3 autobiographies coming out, which are coming out anonymously, but I can tell this group, because you guys know a lot of my story, it's 100% to cover my ass, because I have NDA disclosures with the celebrity I worked with, which there's a lot of stories with there with my job, a lot of family who'll be very angry and probably sue me because I put it all out there. All names are changed to protect the innocent. I was really careful with it.
Yep.
But yeah, there's lots of stories and good and bad things that happen.
Right. That's you know that's awesome. No, I mean, that's awesome because you get to see, that's what I'm saying. So when you live that type of life and you've been through that, don't it make, I mean, I'm pretty sure you agree with that. Don't it make, like, when you live the life that you lived and went through what you went through, all the psychological things that it can have on you, don't it make this stuff that's going on right now, like this institutional racism and all this, don't it make it so darn petty? You look like, are y'all serious? Like, yeah. This is what y'all fighting. This is what the argument is. Like, what about eating? What about going around picking cans to eat? Like, that was me living off a stick of bologna. And I mean, what the, you serious? Yep. This is what we're talking about. Like, this is what we're talking about. And
dude, it used to kill me even in the strip clubs when we were still struggling at that level of like seeing guys eating like the pretzels at their tables and stuff. Like, I was dying for a pretzel or like ask them if they were going to finish this or something because I was starving. And, and I see Rob K's comment too. No Chef Boyardee for me. I never got that desperate.
No, that was a luxury.
I always tease him about that.
Talking about that was a luxury.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That would have been too much.
Dude, ramen noodles. That was a luxury.
Yeah. We moved up to ramen noodles like after I got my first job before I started stripping. And it was like, oh, that was savory. Like, that's what I'm saying too now. Maybe that's where I am gluttonous to a point. Maybe because I went through having such good food. We had a chef until I left home. And then I went down to like literally not eating to back to where like now, no, I don't want to eat poorly ever again.
Man.
I'll work and do whatever I have to do to never go
Right.
through that kind of thing again.
Exactly.
Whatever I have to do.
And that's the reason why I love trying all kind of different food and eating really good food, because I was like, man, I've been down there to where everything consisted of hot dogs, bologna, and potted meat and Spam and ramen noodles and everything disgusting. As long as it was cheap, I just wanted to eat to survive. And now I'm like, I don't even want to. Something I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I do get this strange thing where I'm like, okay, I'm about to get me some chicken ramen noodles just because I gotta have that. I don't know.
Oh,
but
I had it over the weekend because we were in a hotel and they had like a little pantry, and I was still hungry when I got back to the hotel with my son. And he's like, he saw me grab it. He's like, what the hell are you eating? And I was like, don't judge me. Just shut up.
you
I
don't
need
get
this
it.
every once in a while. This are like Kraft mac and cheese or something. Every once in a while, I need that. Like it brings me back. It's something that I freaking was good with.
And not only that,
50 cents a box.
Right. And then on top of that, like, you know what it does too? It serves as a memory too. It serves as like a memorial. Like when I eat it, if I ate, like Frank, I'll give you an example. If I ate some Vienna sausage with like crackers and hot sauce, it'll take me right back to, I knew exactly where I was sitting. I knew the smell, I knew the color of the carpet, I knew the predicament that I was in. And I'll look at it and I'll eat and I'm like, man, look at that. I mean, God, thank you that I was actually put myself and my mind to be able to hustle to get out of that. I mean, it's
we used to eat something called a hookup too. It was like tuna with some mayo with some Ritz crackers crunched up in it for crunch because we couldn't afford vegetables. And like you mix it all up and then you put it on a different cracker. That was living large because there were 3 ingredients.
Right. And then to have it now, what got better though is when we found out that that's why I was trying to tell some of the folks on here that so a lot of people have emailed me like saying things like they literally have no food and they literally don't have nothing. And so is there some way I can help them? And I was like, I'll say, okay. There's like, they'll write you things saying, okay, I know, I hear your stories. I know how you said you starved and da. And they say, but can you really help me out? I just need, $20 to do X, Y, and Z. And then I would say, okay, now where do you live? I don't need to know your address. I just want to know what city do you live in? Because if they gave me the city, I would say, well, guess what? From what I'm looking at right now, there are 19 pantries and Then they don't want that. Well, no, I don't want to go. No, well, you must not be hungry like I was, because if anybody told me they giving free food over at such and such, I was there. I didn't care if it was 20 blocks.
Right.
I did not care. So that's why I say a lot of people. I hate it because they think it's almost like it's I hate it because a lot of folks is like it's an insult to your intelligence. They sit there and email me sob stories and stuff like that, and they thinking that I'm about to give them some money, and I'm like, no, I'm going to direct you to where the food is. And all they give there
totally do that to me. Like when I visit Ashley in the hood, they see me come in with a decent car. I don't look a mess. We go out. I'll take her out, for lunch or something with her son. And then when I'm coming back, I'll be pulling up to a light and they'll be like, yo, can you give me $5, can you give me $1, whatever. And I'm like, if you want, and Lane always panics if he thinks they're going to take me up on it. I'm like, watch this. And I'll be like, if you want, there's a pantry literally like 2 blocks from here. I can get in the back. I'll drive you right over right now. And like right away, they look at me like I'm nuts, and Lane's ready to kill me because he's like, you're going to get killed. And I'm like, no, you're missing the point. That's not what they want. And they're trying to play me out. Like, I don't know what they're going to do with the money or what they're asking me for what reason. That's my point. If they were legit, they would have said thank you and jumped in the back and jumped that back out to get food because they really wanted that. You're missing the point. They're hustling and they think they're going to hustle me because they think I'm some girl who doesn't belong here and doesn't know better. And that pisses me off.
Right.
So, it's not cool.
No. Scott McClellan, I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, you're saying that you would have to walk up a 65 miles, up a 60-degree, whatever you're saying, but then yet there's no one that you can communicate with that can even meet you halfway or even bring it? I'm pretty sure they'll do that, especially if it's from a church pantry.
Maybe through the church. Through a church, usually they offer those services, or like a Catholic charity or something like that. They'll
usually deliver it. If not, then that's, see what I'm saying? See, it's so many opportunities.
Or if you have health care, sometimes through your insurance, they'll offer you a ride for things like that because it's a means for your health in order to live with healthy food. Right. They can offer you services usually.
And then sometimes if
you have state insurance.
Right. And I'm not saying this is you, Scott, but what I am saying is that somebody said something similar to what you said. And I was like, well, okay, well, then what I'll do, I will PayPal a Uber to go to the church and deliver the food to you. And I can watch the Uber on my darn phone delivering the food to the person. So it's always a way around. Like I said, because the fact that I had to exhaust, I had to walk. There was no Uber and no getting no taxi, nothing like that. So I mean, if it took me 3 hours to go get my food and all the stuff like that, I got there and got my food, ate it, and as much bags as I can. I was one of those people that y'all probably saw that had like a little bit like, man, what in the world is a shopping cart doing near the hood? I'm like, because I used it. Shoot, I would do some stuff that was dangerous. I'm like, if I walked up a hill with the shopping cart when I got that food, I was sitting there on the back of that shopping cart, letting that sucker fly down the hill and burn the bottom of my shoes, trying to slow it down before I got to that light. But no, I had to, man. It was hustling, man.
Yep. Ramon, I see you. Actually, that's funny. So honestly, if somebody asks me for help, I'm honestly, I am bad too. Like in a sense that, okay, when Lane and I go through New York City, a lot of times we take public transit because it's easier than driving through Manhattan. And I go to visit my brother on Long Island, and Lane, I'm trying to teach because he's super charitable. I don't know, he doesn't get it from me. I mean, I've tried to teach him, but like in all honesty, as a person, he just is. And when we go through New York City, he will see a homeless mother with her child or see a homeless man, and he puts his hand over his heart, which indicates to me, give him money to give to them because his heart is breaking, which he did since he was a little kid, and it drove me freaking crazy because I'd be like, dude, you're going to bankrupt me before we even get on the train. Like, you're killing me right now. So we have set up an amount of money that I'm allowed to give him in singles that he can give out that he wants. And he's also allowed to bring a certain amount of, literally, he walks into Penn Station with a bag of food, of non-perishables that he can give out because he has such panic attacks seeing people struggle. And he got himself involved in a charity on his own accord when he was 10. He saw on the news a woman who had just graduated college, who was homeless, who had put herself through school on a scholarship for fashion, and she invented a coat which turns into a sleeping bag. And because she said being homeless on the streets of Detroit, she used to see people freeze to death a lot when she was a kid. So this jacket takes your body heat and insulates it and uses it to keep you warm. And then it turns into a sleeping bag overnight so that you're insulated and you won't die of freezing to death. So he wrote her an email. She came out to Jersey to visit him and made him the first official child on her board. Because it was a brand new thing. It's called the Empowerment Group.org, and he is now chairman of it. And every winter he goes to every shelter in New Jersey and hands out like 500 posts on the streets during winter to homeless people, anyone he could find that he thinks is going to freeze. So he's like a charitable kid. So I mean, I do have him do charitable things. He does them on his own. So I don't try to discourage that, but that's what I mean when I say he like freaks out when I do something like I did, because I'm like, there's a difference between people who really want your help and people who have ulterior motives, and you've got to learn the difference to a point. Otherwise, you're going to get taken advantage of, or you're going to get hurt.
Yep, and that's the thing is that's what I'm saying. And there's no predators come in all kind of different shape forms. A lot of people hear about predator and they instantly think sexual stuff, but it's like no, predators. The mind of a predator is to prey on the weak. That's what they do. They look for the weak and the injured. If they sit there and they can get your sympathy, then they can get you. You know, I mean, that's what a lot of ministers do as well. They prey off of the weak, and these people are already hurting. And so because the thing is, I like my wife and my sons and first see me do it. My wife is so nice. I mean, look, I'm talking to the extent to where I know this woman from the hood. I told my wife flat out. My wife seen me a few times. This one would come up. It's my birthday, and I said, Sandra, get away from my car. My wife like, Thailand, that lady. So one time, I'm going, man. I guess we went to go get something. All I know is I ran in and I seen that woman at my car on my wife's side. I'm like, oh no. By the time I got out there, I seen my wife handing her something. So it made it even worse because this woman was out there begging my wife with the whole lie again. Telling me it's her birthday and she ain't able to do nothing. And my wife was like, well, this is all I got. My wife gave that woman 12 cents. I told my wife, that's the you might as well just. I was like, that was worse than telling them
through it when you walked her away.
Right. I'm telling her, I'm like, that's worse than me telling the woman, Sandra, get away from my car. You gave it, and the woman looked at her hand, was like, thank you. I was like, that's the worst thing that you gave her 12 cents. Like, I couldn't. So because hilarious. Some people have, the thing is, I know a lot of folks and what they do to me, they say, hey man, hey brother, hey man, please man, I'm hungry, man. I'm like, well, what do you want to eat? Oh, I don't want to bother you. No, wait, also now you don't want to bother me, but you bother me right now. See, I'm not trying to be rude. I don't
have issues with that. If somebody really does walk up and I feel like, that's, I think, part of like some of the education I talk about that I think that I am glad of having I never take back my hood experience because it gave me a whole different kind of education. And I think there are times, like I said, like when Lane pinpoints somebody that I can see when we say, do you want food? The fact that they're willing to take a food bag or a perishable item or non-perishable that he hands them versus even cash, that I'll give you the shirt off my back if that's how it is. I really will.
Right.
Like, I have no problem with that. So we actually, like the last time we actually did that, we had, like I said, there was a woman with her 2 kids. It was so depressing. And Lane had been begging me to try Krispy Kreme donuts for like years because we don't have it in Jersey. And I was like, okay. And I got him like half a dozen donuts to bring home. And I mean, we were running to catch the train. He saw them last minute. He turned around. He looked like he was going to cry. And he freaking handed over his Krispy Kreme. And I was like, he's such a good kid, but like the woman couldn't have been more appreciative. She jumped up like I thought she was going to kidnap him. All she wanted to do was hug him. And she started to cry. And I was like, I'm so sorry we have to go. We're going to miss our train, but please take this. And I wound up giving her $5 because I felt like this woman was just hungry. She just wanted to feed her kid. Right. There's a big difference between that and somebody who's like, yo, give me $5 because, I'm starving. But if that's the last thing, they're reaching with booze or they're nodding out or they're dope sick. And it's like, come on, man.
Right.
Like,
and see, so many things kick in that a lot of people don't know. And like what you said about the whole thing about being from the hood and learning street smarts is that, I come up on these people a whole lot. And while I'm sitting there talking to them, I'm sitting up there examining them, looking at their arms, looking at their hands, looking at this part of their arms right here and all this. I'm looking at they sitting there. Hey, I'm so hungry.
It's like, what are you looking for? Right. And so skin from mess. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so there was times where like for instance, we seen a couple that was standing. Now, like a lot of times people have you and they do is sad. They use their kids for prompts. And there was but I always ask, are y'all all right? I don't talk to the parents though. I look at the kids.
Right.
Are y'all hungry? Then they look at their parents like they don't know what to say. I'm like, oh no, I ain't falling for this. Because a kid would be like, kids do not look as a child, when you are hungry and you're not eating, they don't care what the parents think. They'll look right at you. But if they look at their parents like, okay, what do I say? I'm like, okay, what's going on? So one time we had a couple that did that where they were hungry, whatever like that. And he just said, I just need some money for food. And I told him, well, I'll go and buy you the food. Oh, really? Okay. So I took them to the grocery store and this one I knew like something was up. And I'm talking about in a good way. When I took them to the grocery store, they went and grabbed like big cans of like the big like freaking village size can of beans. I'm like, okay, yeah, he grabbed beans. He didn't really go for no meat. He just grabbed all big cans of vegetables and then he grabbed like 2 little gallons of water. And the thing is, when he grabbed the water, he literally started drinking the water in the store while he was walking. And then he started giving it to his little daughters and they started drinking the water and all that. And then by the time we made it out to their car, he started taking a knife and breaking open it. He started taking a knife and opening up the can of beans and all that, and and peeled it open, and then just started putting it in their little. They had McDonald's cups, and he was putting the beans in the McDonald's cup, and they just started eating. And that's when I was like, okay, wait here for a second. I'm gonna go back in there and buy them some other stuff too, But otherwise, I've had people that went into there and they're like, the pastor that I lived with one time, we was helping somebody, and he went into the store with the person that he was going to help. That man went in there and grabbed some ribs and some T-bone steaks. He's like, oh, no, man. It's like, no, you getting ready to take that over to a friend. You talking about you starving. You going to go in there and grab some spare ribs? Oh, no, you don't do that. No, spare ribs. This man grabbed spare ribs and steaks and some shrimp. He was like, my pastor's like, no, put that back. He's like, no, friend, put that back. Now we can get this. You can get that. That rotisserie chicken right there. That's $5. You can get you some bread and you can get you a gallon of milk. But I ain't about to sit there and buy spare ribs. I mean raw. And you hungry right now, but you buying some raw. Come on, man. So that's what I'm saying. Some people don't know that they vulnerable to it and they feel good that I'm getting ready to help this person, having no idea you just got hustled.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to I don't want to take the compassion away from Lee because he's so much more naturally compassionate as a person, I think, than I ever was. And yet in the same token, he's the first person who's going to get taken advantage of, who's going to get bullied. He's a huge, big dude, and everybody, I mean, he is known in town as like the most gentle giant you could meet.
Right.
He's such a caring person. He would get bullied before he'd knock a kid on his ass, even though he could. He's that kid, you know, so that's like a fear of mine a lot. And why I do want men in his life. And my boyfriend's a good role model. He's a good mentor for him. He's somebody he can look up to. But again, I've kept a boundary to a point because he has his own son. And I feel like having gone through what I went through with the constant more siblings coming into the house and being kind of pushed to the side and like more and more kids coming in, like I know how that feels. And his son is 10 months older than mine. And I just don't feel like I think it's fair to him to have to share his father at that level, because it takes away from your relationship with your own parent. And I guess I feel that, you know, that kind of respect for his son. Like, I don't want him to feel like he has to share his dad.
Right.
You know, like, and that's just because I had to do those things and it wasn't good for me. So I've kept a boundary with Lane and my boyfriend like that, even though he's known him since he's a year old. He's a wonderful guy. He's really, really just like, he makes me want to be a better person because he's probably the best person I know. I'm the crazy one. He's the good one. And, you know, Lane looks up to him a lot, but I think that also he needs to keep having men in his life to do the thing I can't do, which is like toughen him up to a point or teach him these things where he'll take it more seriously than it's just his mom being protective. It's like, I'm not just being protective of you. I'm trying to make you a man and have the instinct that a man would have that I don't know how to teach you because I'm a woman. Right. And the only reason I know what I know is because I was put in a situation that you're never going to be in.
Right.
So, you know, to try to do that it's hard to do.
You're absolutely right. Oh. And that's a good thing, though, that you actually was able to come to terms with that, because a lot of people are fooled into thinking that, yes, you can. As a mama, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yeah, it's like, no, they don't. Some like folks don't. And it has nothing to do. They act like it's like people want to take it like that as like a downfall. That's trying to make you less than what you really are. It's like, no, you have a certain amount of potential that you can give to certain things. Right. And just at the same time, it's certain things that there's no way that I can do it without my wife having that nurturing other side to it, because it's like, that's the reason why it's like things can be balanced off, because if I'm more subjective and ain't no feelings into it, I don't but yet you got my wife who can be there more nurturing, more compassionate, and I'm like, I don't care, you know, something, you know, to certain,
I have tried to play the role of both, and it's not easy to juggle. No. And you know, it's funny too, because Lane is going through puberty, so he has my boyfriend you know, to bounce guy stuff off like that as far as that goes. But to a point, I mean, Lane and I have a really open relationship. Some of the questions he'd asked me about sexual things or what goes on with boys, I'd have to literally turn him away and say, why don't you ask Uncle so-and-so or ask John about this or my boyfriend, because I'm not a guy. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that's going to feel. I don't know what to tell you. I'm honest with him. I'm like, I'm a chick. I don't know. I don't have that, dude. I don't know how this is going to feel or work. Exactly. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I wish I did, but I don't. And I have no choice but to pass it along, because I don't want to give him the wrong answer, and I don't want him Googling it. I don't want him asking his jerky friends. So, like, I have to be straight with him and tell him that. But believe me, the things that I expected coming out of his mouth, even with those subjects, are so different than when I was younger. Like, we didn't have to label ourselves like these kids have to now, the pressure to do it. The identity alone of like, well, this one's gay and this one's trans and this one thinks that they're bi and this one's like, dude, you haven't even kissed a girl. How do you know that you're like, how do these kids know this? I don't understand.
Right.
You know, like it drives me up a wall. Or it's a threesome, 2 guys and a girl, 2 girls and a guy, and we're choosing a whole bunch of people. What if I'm just like 5 girls? Is there a name for that? And I'm like, oh my God, you know, and then he'll say to me, like, as my mom, as my dad, as my friend. And I'm like, as your mother, let's just go with ew, you know, like, oh, I can't believe you're asking me this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the world that they live in today.
Then we go from there. But the things that he's asking me, I thought we'd talk about when he was like 18 or actually in a sexual relationship or something like that. And it's like, no, these kids are in a whole different league than in a different way than my generation was. So it blows my mind once a week when he'll come to me and say, I'm not going to Google it and I'm not going to watch porn. I'm just going to ask you. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, what?
Right, because now, I mean, then in today's age, though, a lot of things is not about monogamy. You know what I mean? It's like some people that I know, I'm like, there's literal folks that I have talked to they are cool with there being 3 girls to 1 dude all living in the same house. And I'm like, I can't even, I'm just like, what? Like, y'all, they're like, yeah, you know, we all get along. Now, I don't care what you say. Eventually, somebody gonna be mad that somebody's not getting a certain amount of attention, or somebody's not getting a certain amount of looks or touch, or it's gonna happen, and it did happen. I mean,
oh please, I was never a possessive, jealous kind of person, but I think when you fall in love with somebody and it's like the real deal and stuff like that, right now, I will fully admit, full on, I am a possessive bitch, and like you could be friends to a point, you could do this, but like otherwise, no, I'm not having it. I never was that person until I really fell in love with someone. So like, I understand that. So I don't get any of that. So to me, you're either not at that level or then I just don't understand it. I can't figure that out. And I'm a pretty open person. Like I'm fairly liberal when it comes to those kinds of things, but no,
it's like,
absolutely
man,
not. That's crazy. There's going to be fights, dude.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So it's like the whole world and everything is just completely different. And the thing is, it seems like they got so much stuff going on that actually deters them from actually focusing on relationship. It makes them focus on all these things they have to learn. It's almost like learning a new language now. I mean, it ain't no boy and girl no more. It ain't a man and a woman.
He genuinely, like, especially in the last year, just going into high school, he's not. A lot of his friends are questioning, like, his best friend is a girl, okay? He's been best friends with her since third, second grade. She had 3 bad experiences with boys over the course of 8th grade. One rejected her completely. One kind of semi-used her. Thank God, not terribly, but he did. And the third one, in the end, was just kind of cruel the way that he broke up with her. And now she has been saying for the last 3 months that she is gay, she's a lesbian, she's hardcore, she doesn't want to deal with boys. And her mother is a very conservative woman, and she's a psychiatrist who doesn't have a good relationship with her. And because Lane and I have such a good relationship, he knows everything about how this girl really feels. So she will call me up like once a week at this point, like, what's going on with my daughter? Or what is going on with this? Or what is going on with that? Because she feels like I have more insight because she talks to my son who talks to me. And, you know, that's been my whole advice to her. And she's the doctor, not me. It's like, look, she had bad experiences before coming out of the gate, and she's being forced to labor herself. And I think that considering out of all these, you know, these 3 boys, according to my son, they didn't do more than kiss each other. So how can she know if she's gay and wants to be with a woman if she's never even been kissed a girl? Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, it's a sexual thing to a lot. So it's a preference. So if you don't have the experience, how can you have the preference? I think it's more of like, she has to labor herself, and now she doesn't want to be afraid of what she went through again. So she's going to stick to what she feels safe with until she was ready to take that jump again. And if I'm wrong, when she's, 18, 21 and had some sexual experiences, then she's gay. It's that simple. But like, her parents are freaking out. And I said to Lane, like, I feel so bad for her because I think she's confused, and I think that she doesn't know what to feel because she had such bad things happen to her that she's so sensitive and emotional, and her feelings were so hurt.
Man.
You're 13, 14 years old. Why are you labeling yourself? Who cares at that point? It's unbelievable. The pressure.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, and you know what? It's just certain things. Like, to me, I personally believe that everything that is going on, like even just how everything started, I'm pretty sure, like George Floyd, the thing that happened with George Floyd was just all a spark to get everything that we see going on right now. That was just a spark they needed. That was just a spark to light the wick to have this huge explosion right now. Because to me personally, even though what they're doing right now is they're doing it for evil, but to me, the good that's coming out of this is that now it's making everybody look at a whole lot of things that folks never looked at, a whole lot of things folks didn't want to address. So in my personal opinion, I think that even when I'm talking about, I speak to this about I speak to this with minister friends, telling them, I look at this like whatever goes on with this natural world, a lot of things are showing us what goes on in the spiritual world. Everything needs to be reformed. Everything. If you're going to teach us history, teach it right. If you're going to teach this thing, teach it right. Quit with this. It's over 100 different genders. I mean, come on, man. I mean,
oh my God.
2 + 2 ain't 4 no more.
Earlier in the week that now they have a thing that they taught in daycare. Okay, one of my sister-in-laws works in daycare, and they told her, beware of the mask. And she's like, what's a mask? And they're like, that's the new politically correct term for a minor attracted person, which is a nice way of not saying pedophile, but just be careful because we're worried about, a couple of men we heard about outside the pool lately. And I was like, wait a second, there's a word for it now besides pedophile? Like, and it's accepted? I don't understand. Are you kidding? And she sent me the article and the Google Wiki thing. And I was like, I can't believe this is real. I would have never believed it was real if I didn't see it. So I guess we're supposed to be at the point where everybody in society is supposed to be accepted, or it's not a crime anymore or something. Like, I don't understand that either. That's insane. That's dangerous. Like,
that's where they are trying to get. They're trying. I made jokes of this when I was even preaching this like 10 years ago. I would say things like, what about when it's going to come a day when the pedophiles feel like they should be able to marry a little girl? Because inside, the pedophiles might feel that even though they are biologically a grown man, but inside they feel like they're still a kid, because they can say something like, well, you know what? When I was 11 years old, I first kissed a girl when I was 11, and I have not grown past that yet. So I liked the little girl when I was 11, and I still like how 11-year-old girls look. That's what I'm drawn to. That's what I'm attracted to. So therefore, I should have the right to be with one like that. And now it's like they're seriously having talks about it. Like that video I did with that girl, that doctor sitting there saying how it's a sexual orientation.
I don't.
And they made it to a TED Talk. Scary. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The world that we in right now. That's why I say it's a lot of things when it all comes down to it. The main basis of it, and the foundation is going to be anti-Christ. It's against anything of certain principles that Christ laid before us. I mean, he says,
exactly. It's a conservative way of thinking to people who don't want to think that way.
So you can get up here and say that being a pedophile should be looked at as a sexual orientation. But if I get up here and say that 2 + 2 is 4, y'all censor my channel for telling the truth. Because Common Core says 2 + 2 can be 5 if the child feels and think that it is. I'm serious. That's what they do. Common Core tells you that 2 + 2 is not 4. It can be whatever number the child wants it to be, because to them, it could be 6. I can't believe that as human beings, this is where we at right now. Like, every creature in the world knows what to do. Every creature in the world knows its purpose, and human beings just,
I've lived in, I grew up in a very rural area with very conservative parents. And then I moved out on my own to the hood and had a very urban, liberal way, especially living in New York City. I was probably the only person I knew prior to 9/11, because I was there for that, who was supportive of the mayor at that point, because Giuliani was a Republican, and everybody in New York everyone is a very, very extreme liberal. So I kept my big mouth shut and never talked my politics whatsoever. And then after 9/11, it changed the attitude to a point because of what we went through. But I consider myself to a point a conservative liberal or liberal conservative, because there are some things that I can bend with and some things that I just can't. And I have a really hard time with people who are so staunch, too liberal. And it's because I have beliefs in things. Like, I do have beliefs in religion. I do have beliefs in I don't believe that we should be accepting of people who are sexually interactive with children. To me, that's not just liberal, that's just criminal. And to be considered under a liberal wing, that's a problem for me to accept. I will never accept that. Right. And I can accept a lot, but I can't accept something like that.
And that's what I'm saying. A lot of people, and it's not to say anything about me, but just knowing the principles of what God have in that Bible, I'm sitting there looking at this like, wait a minute. So a lot of things that they're letting fly right now, if you look in the Bible, it's stuff that God actually hated. And we letting a lot of stuff we're doing, we letting it fly, man. I mean, it's and that's why, what a lot of people don't understand is that even though just because somebody is giving you free reign to do something that's completely wrong, it does not mean that you're not going to have to face the consequences of what it's going to do to you. Now, people think like Christian folks, and it's an issue that a lot of Christian folks do have. A lot of Christian folks want to be the judge for God. And that's not our job to do that. My job for anybody to do what they do, my job is not to sit there and judge them. My job is to sit there and lift them up and help them get back on straight street once it comes to an end, because things that are not right, a person is going to face the consequences. When I say consequences, I'm not talking about, they're going to face the consequence. No, I'm talking about what it's going to do to them here. And what is it going to do to them here? It really is going to screw them up, and they're going to need somebody there to help get them back right. But if I'm just sitting there just making you, because there's no way that you're going to sit there and want to do something to a child and you just say, I feel great about doing this. You know that what you're doing is sick. And yet it's your lust, but yet inside this is wrong, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't be having to try to hide it.
If it wasn't, it would have been a part of society for God knows how long. Look, how many things in society have changed over 100 years, even over 50 years, over 30 years. There are things that haven't changed for reasons. And like the fact that they're going to try to integrate things that have been criminal for the entire existence of time and prior to even Jesus being here, you want to tell me now are supposed to be accepted? Absolutely not.
No.
Like, I just know that I'm staunch on that. I just don't,
right.
I don't agree with it. And like Werther's, I saw your comment, like, again, yes, there's plenty of ways. It just seems to me like society is forcing everyone to label themselves now. And I don't agree with that. I just don't. I lived in New York. I probably was the only heterosexual on my entire block. And that's the God's honest truth. I don't think that I had one heterosexual neighbor. I think every single person on my street was gay. And like, it was interesting having my ex-husband there, who came straight out of prison, who is as hardcore as you can get and was borderline homophobic, like living on the street where the gay pride parade came down every year. It was crazy. But like, my point is that you accept things and people are who they are. And like, I've always been, look, I don't need to tell you what goes on in my bedroom. So don't tell me what goes on in yours and we'll be cool. Like I don't put my business out like that. So I don't need to know your business, but I'm not going to judge you for it either. Whatever. No big deal. But I don't understand when you're talking about involving children. Like that's out our limits to me. That's not on the playing field. And there's no reason to label yourself. If you don't need to be labeled, you don't want to be labeled. Do I find women beautiful? Absolutely. But do I want to have sex with them? No, that's my choice. But do I, like that, but do I put that out there in general? No. That's, you know what I mean? Like I just find it a respect thing. Like I don't kiss and tell to a point. So why would you tell me that? Why do you have to run around with a card kind of like saying, well, this is what I am. If it makes you feel good, okay. But I don't need necessarily promote things like that for myself, and I don't understand fully why people do it.
Right.
It's just me.
Right. It's like, no matter what, like, because I say I have a lot of friends that are homosexual. They know where I stand. I know where they stand. What we don't do, I don't sit there and try to correct them or anything like that, nor do they try to come to me and try to make me understand or try to get me. Now, when we talk about when it comes down to biological factors, I'm like, ain't no winning in that. I don't care what they say. I mean, I went through med school, I went through microbiology, we didn't, that's not true about being on no chromosome. No, you're not going to get that biologically. So since we all know where we stand, we just don't talk with each other. When we talk about everything else, still got a great relationship, great friendship. But when it comes to those things, those just things that we just don't touch on because we each know where each other stand. But the issue is that I don't like the fact that a lot of people feel that because it's being backed up or something like that you got a right to go and point out somebody that don't agree with on you. Don't call me no hateful person because I said I don't agree with you. It's just like if you sit there and say, I don't agree with a 40-year-old man getting with a girl that just turned 18 just because she's legal. I'm like, man, that's just a number. Completely. She just legal by a number, but mature wise, she may not, you know what I mean? But that's me. But at the same time, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, you don't sit there and want to say, oh man, you are relationship phobic. I mean, what? I'm like, you're a relationship phobic. I'm not no relationship phobic because I don't agree with you liking a girl that just turned 18. That's right. So what I'm saying is that I don't like the fact that if these people do what they do, the ones that are homosexual, and I don't agree with it, don't come at me like they tried on my channel before, calling me hateful and a homophobic. And then it's like, no, I'm not any of those things because I got a lot of friends that are like that. Even if I didn't have the friends, I'm not. That's just what you're saying, what you're making up just as a rebuttal or just as an excuse of what you're doing. But it's just like right now, if I say, you know what? They say, who are you married to? I'm like, I'm married to my wife. Oh, you're straight. What, are you a straightophobic? What's wrong with me? I mean, I don't care. Just like a lot of people I tell, if you're homosexual, I don't care. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to come out because I never cared that you were actually in.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't run around and tell you, well, I slept around with this many guys in my life and this is what we did. Like, that's nobody's business. And that's not the way I would present myself to anyone, even my closest friends. That's just, I don't know, maybe I'm conservative like that. I just don't believe in sharing that kind of information just randomly or with everyone or the world for that matter. It's not my business. And like, I didn't have one straight friend in New York that I never was judged, but I also didn't need to hear about what you did in your bedroom because I wasn't going to tell you what I did in my bedroom. That's personal business. You don't need to put it on a t-shirt and show me. I believe you. I don't need to discuss it with you. That's your business. Like, I don't want to know. That's not for me to know. So that's what I don't, if I don't like you, it's not because of your sexual orientation. I just don't like you. It has nothing to do with what you're doing or having sex with.
Right. It has nothing to do. And then like in the, what was it, me in the early 90s, we knew from the jump. I mean, people that we grew up around, we knew like, okay, dude right there, we know that he's, we know that he's feminine. We know that he's feminine. We like, okay, dude been feminine all the life. So when he came out, everybody's like, dude, what you acting like why you acting like we surprised? You've been like that since we were kids. You always been like that. Right. You never was rough. You was always star. Oh, star. We like, yeah, don't wrestle with him, y'all. We ain't wrestling with him. He like grabbing a little too much. So like, But I mean, when he got older, we like, dude turned to be gay. I want to tell y'all, and it's been really hard. We're like, dude, we've been knowing you was gay since we was 7, dude. I mean, you always was feminine acting. I mean, it ain't nothing new. I mean, when we played tag, you were running. Like, okay, I don't want to chase him, man. We was like, So we knew at an early age, but it's not like it's a surprise. So what I'm saying is that I don't know why it has to be a big announcement or a big deal that somebody came out gay.
Yeah, I get it to a point in a sense that, okay, for a very long time, up until maybe the last 15, 20 years, it was suppressed and it was frowned upon and it was a closeted thing. And a lot of people took their lives over it or felt the stress of not being able to tell their friends. I can understand that to a point because it's like living a double life or hiding something that's a part of you that you feel is important for other people to be able to relate to. That I'll give you. I will not give you, though, having to tell me about your actual acts and actions and why you feel the need to express it and share it with me, because I wouldn't do that with you. And it has nothing to do with I'm gay or I'm straight. It has to do with you don't need to know what goes on in my bedroom. And
you know what? And if you check the facts on that though, Kara, too, you know that nothing, even though it's way more accepting in the past, I would say in the past at least 10 years, in the past 10 years, even though it's way more accepting of homosexual lifestyle, they still had the suicide rate is actually gone up, even though it's actually more accepting now in our day. It's actually have gone up. And that's where I talk about things like, some things, especially in young children, I just feel that, look, these, like, even my own sons, I'm like, no, y'all not gonna talk to my sons about sex. That my sons don't need to know about sex right now. They don't need to know. They're in the 6th grade, 7th. They don't need to know about now. When they start having certain feelings and they want to come and say, Daddy, how come when I woke up to go pee, then I'm like, this is Dad. What happened? I got like 2 hairs down there. Oh, you know, I get that, but to actually be in the 6th grade, these kids' mind ain't even thinking about that. And this is a penis. This is a vagina. It goes inside here. It's like, wait a minute. Now you got the kids interested in the stuff. But they weren't even thinking about that stuff at first. So what I always say is like some things that should not have been introduced to them at certain points. Right. Like
not for anything. Lean's 14. Why is he worrying about whether or not some kid is trans? That's in there. Like that. First of all, oh my God, like, why is that becoming an issue for you? Why are you asking me about this? And he's like, well, because sometimes the kids are assuming that that's what's going to happen and they don't know if they should be nice or bully. And everybody kind of looks to me or this other kid who are friends with everyone and don't judge if we're friends with them, if they can accept it. I'm like, but Lean, why is this person worrying about it when they're this age and have they had a boyfriend or a girlfriend or no? And it's like, why is this preoccupying his mind? He's 14 years old and these kids aren't in relationships. Like, dude, not for anything. At 14, almost everyone I knew in my life at that point was sexually active. And we didn't have these kind of issues of like, who's doing what with it. It was just like done. Right. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't talked about. It wasn't whispered about. It was like, this was just life. And it was a different way of living. But like now it's actual topic and food for thought and who's going to treat someone a certain way because of what they think may be happening. And like, that's a whole different ballgame. Right. And see, it really is.
And that's the issue. See, if these things, to me, none of those things should be discussed in school. Math, history, science, whatever. I get that.
Right.
Nobody needs to be talking about no personal things that you're going to be dealing. That school, to me, school should not be teaching nothing about sex, nothing about relationship. That stuff should all come from the parents. I don't feel that that does not. I don't. They don't. That to me, it just to me, like again, to me, from what I've known, what I've researched, and what I studied, even growing up around it and doing things with youth that I've actually counseled. If the stuff never would have got introduced to them, their minds weren't even there yet, and all of a sudden you telling them this, and now they all of a sudden they looking at stuff and seeing, oh, then people start to, girl, if I'm telling you, when you do it, it's gonna feel good. And now you got that. Now you got these kids getting pregnant all early. They never would have engaged in that had something not piqued them to do it. You know what I mean?
I think, like back in the day, like we're talking maybe 50s and prior, because everything was so closed mouth. Maybe that's where they started to get the ideas in the 60s when people started getting a little more free about things, like we should educate our kids. And maybe, you know, they had the right intentions, but I agree with you because look, Lane was 9 years old when he started puberty. Now he was the first kid to the point of where he was going through it so hard, so fast, and so young physically, not mentally, not emotionally, but physically he was changing, that I did have my boyfriend have to sit down with him and explain some things that were changing with his body because he didn't understand it. And I didn't know how to exactly go into it because he was 9 and he was little. And most children at that age aren't even close to that. Literally, some of his friends at this point at 14 years old are starting to like catch up, I think, to where he was physically then. But mentally and emotionally, he wasn't even, he didn't know what was happening to him. It had nothing to do with sex or urges. It had to do with his body just changed. And that was it. He needed facts. But I'm glad that he was able to have the education from me and from my brothers and my boyfriend. It's like at home. So it went and progressed as he progressed instead of saying, here, you're X age and this is what's going to happen and this is what you do and this is what you don't do, blah, blah, blah. When probably none of those kids, if they wanted to do it in 6th grade for these kids, and none of them were even remotely close to there except my son. And it was because he was going through it physically. But again, in no way was he thinking like that mentally or emotionally. So why would you put that on like an 11 or 12-year-old who doesn't even have their body changing yet?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Or have any of these inclinations. Like there's no need to do that. I do think it should be up to the parents to make that decision on like having their kid be the ones that they educate with it. And it's because you're the only one who's really going to know what your child's really going through.
Right. I let them know that when my wife, I told her already, I said, I told them, the teachers, that's why I was a very involved parent. I'm like, look, when are y'all supposed to be teaching, like in this school? When y'all start teaching sex education? Oh, we teach that in 6th grade. Well, when y'all do that, my sons are not going to be participating or in there. And I'm like, I make sure my son's not going to be in there or anything like that. Not whatsoever. Because I mean, you know, there's certain things that it doesn't need to be introduced. I think personally, some things that happen, it needs to happen naturally. Like when the stuff started happening naturally, all of a sudden I'm seeing my son talking to girls, and all of a sudden he's starting to act a little different and he blushing, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what's going on now. But to be in the 6th grade where you still playing tag and playing hopscotch and stuff like that, you want to talk about the penis goes into the vagina. It's like, wait, what? Yeah. In the 6th grade?
Especially boys. I think that they mature just a little bit slower, and I don't think that's really what's preoccupying their brains yet.
No.
And I think that girls may mature a little bit faster, but they're not thinking like that. They're just wondering what happens to their body.
Right.
Not what's going on sexually.
And I say it all the time that as you grow up, it just goes to a point to where now the girls that I used to sit there and play, like even if we wrestled a little bit and you tagged them or you chased them, it went from when you grabbed them, there was nothing there. All of a sudden, like, you in the 8th grade, getting ready to go to high school and stuff like that, and they touch you a certain way, and you like, okay, that felt a little different. Like,
yeah,
like
exactly.
That actually kind of felt good a little bit, like where they give you a hug, you like, okay, what is going on down there? That is what the heck. So, that's what I'm saying. The natural thing to kind of kick in where the little hits all of a sudden don't feel like little hits no more. It feels like something a little different. Why am I all of a sudden liking that she's touching me like that? Or why all of a sudden I'm liking that he's touching me like that? Or why all of a sudden I'm actually doing things to make him look at me? Or why am I doing things to get her attention? Now it's a natural process that's happening, but they don't do that. Matter of fact, what I don't even get is why they don't even talk about relationships. You know what I mean? Talk relationships and dating and courting and all. No, skip all that sex. I mean,
exactly. you go right to yeah, exactly. And I don't understand that either. I mean, Lane went from being curious to now that he's like had actual not relationships, but more than friendships with girls or likings and stuff like that, to where he's like, you know what? I'm good. I don't really need to feel like he's like, maybe I'm weird because like I'm into chicks, but like I don't know if they wanted to have sex with me, I'm just like not ready for that. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, because like the way that I am, I feel like I would really want to care about the girl. It's not just a
Oh my
physical act for
God.
me.
Oh my
And he's like, and
God.
that would bother me. Like if I
That is
just,
awesome.
that happened with the girl, he's like, I would want to like have feelings for her and have her want to feel that way too. And like, I don't think that we're capable of that yet.
That
And
is
that was like,
awesome.
thank God he felt that. That made me feel
Man.
better that he wasn't going to jump into something.
That is absolutely awesome because again, like I say, people don't talk about the consequences that can happen about because a lot of times some dudes, I mean, a lot of guys, I mean, I'm just being real. Men can sit there and smash a lot of women and there will be no emotional attachment whatsoever.
Right.
That's why a lot of women get hurt over the stuff because to them, giving it up feels like they're giving like a piece of themselves to you. And what I do with a lot of my youth and kids that I mentor, I have all the guys stand up, right? I have about 6 or 7 guys stand up and I give them all a little small bag of Cheetos. And what I do, I tell them, here, I want y'all to put about, 7 or 8 little Cheetos in your mouth. Don't swallow it. I just want you to chew it. And what I do is I have all the girls watching. I show them a glass of water and I say, this is you guys right now. Like, this is your purity right now. You can see straight through it. It's transparent. There's nothing to hide. You can see this. And now what I do is I give the cup to one of the dudes and I have him spit the Cheetos in it. Then I have him pass it down to the next dude and spit the Cheetos all the way down to the 6th dude. And I'm like, now look, this is what happens to your purity when you having all these multiple things right here is that in the end, look at your glass now. You are filled with all of that stuff that they had in them. And now it's in you. And now look at your purity now. And they get to looking at that like, oh, shoot, I didn't know that. So my point is that you don't know what this dude had in his mouth. He might have brushed his teeth. It might be clean. But the next dude, he might not have brushed his teeth. The other dude,
that's a super lesson to do. And I think that's something too that Lane thinks of it, especially now with COVID. This is when he had this conversation kind of recently because he was like, I think he had heard and right before they got out of school and started going remotely, they started talking about like AIDS and health class and stuff like that. He asked me about it. So I showed him some movies and tried to explain how, my generation was the first one to really deal with this and have this happen. And we went from that to where he was like, after COVID, and he was like, like, I'm actually kind of nervous. Like, I don't know who this other girl's going to be with. And like, what if some girl says this to me because she likes me and she's been with someone else? He's like, maybe I'm being mean or whatever. He's like, but I don't want to be with like a bunch of people. That's just not who I am. He's like, and I was like, maybe I'll change someday or I'll get to feel differently about women. He's like, but maybe because you're like a single mom to me and like I would freak out if you have like a bunch of boyfriends and stuff because that's gross. I don't want to be the guy who has a bunch of girlfriends because at some point, like, I just feel like that's not pure. Like I said, he feels like he wants to have feelings in a relationship so it has some kind of meaning to it so he doesn't have regrets later in life.
Right.
About he just did this because his body said so, not his mind or his heart. And I'm so relieved, like he's thinking with his head and not just with his body, because I do have a lot of brothers and they were nuts when I was a kid or when we were younger. They were just not like that. So I think that's maybe a perk to being a single mom sometimes is that he thinks about how the woman's going to feel about things a lot. And he's afraid of either hurting someone or himself getting hurt or having meaningless relationships. Like, he doesn't see me do that.
Right. And the thing is that I don't know how many, it's not my business. I'm just saying you wouldn't know this, but your son would actually tell you this if you was to ask him. He's watched you when you think he's not watching. You know what I mean? You can be over just reading the book and your son will be sitting there staring at you and he'll be thinking about certain things. He don't want no man to do you wrong. He don't want no man to help to hurt you. He feel like even if something is going down, he feel like I have to be the one to protect my mom. And when that goes on, if you come from a single parent home, a lot of times you do kind of learn like, I didn't like how this man treated my mom. I didn't like how he talked to my mom. I didn't like that. I felt like, hey, can you not touch my mom in my face? You know what I mean? So you feel like, because if you do that, you feel like
and
you just
he also catches me because he's funny because I'm not like some massive flirt, but I'm a flirtatious person. I think overall, that's just who I am. Like, or I may come across like that. And he does not like that. Like, if he sees me hanging out with friends who are like, even my boyfriend's friends or like guys who I've known my whole life that I just had genuine friendships with,
Mm-hmm.
he does not like if he sees me like, or in his mind, I'm being flirtatious or putting myself out there to a point that bothers him.
Right.
And he's like, you have a boyfriend, you have it. And I'm like, I know he's like, I understand where you're coming from. He's like, yeah, but you're my mom. I don't want you to send out a certain message and you don't know how guys think. And I'm like, okay, you know, like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but he is very much like that. Like, not only is he's watching me like a hawk, and I think that he's also watching that too, because he talks to me about the kind of girl that he's into now, and he's into such like conservative women. I have a sister-in-law who's Muslim, and he feels like he has inklings toward women who are all covered up. He doesn't like women who wear a low-cut shirt. If I wear a low-cut top or a sexy dress or something, he's like, oh, put a jacket on her. Oh my God, you're 46 years old. Holy cow. You know, like he gets so mad at me. He's like, you don't have to do it. I'm like, this is just something I like to wear. Get off my back. And he's like, yeah, I know. And he's like, but you're going out with John tonight, right? That's my boyfriend. You're not going out with girls like that, right? Like, he's funny this way. So I get where he's coming from. And I can respect that. So I try not to piss him off. But he can be a cop sometimes with me. And I see where he's coming from. And then I believe that he feels that way about girls. And what he says to me, it's not just talk, because he treats me the same way I think that he would want a girl to be with him.
Right. That's a good, I mean, that's just all in all, that's just a really, really good foundation for him to have, because that's actually, I mean, that's I don't know, it's messed up. I when I dated my wife and even courted her, I mean, I wanted to be, in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to be like how most guys are. I mean, even when my wife first dated, I did not want to be go to the movies and then, no, I wanted to like, okay, I want to walk on the lake and we get something that we can hold and eat and we're going to have a talk. Like, what do you aspire to? What do you like? What don't you like? What do you see yourself at in 5 years? It's not like, it's like oh man, this dude. No, I really want to know her heart. I want to know what her goals was. What does she see herself? What do you, because I want to know, I just want to work at the same job. And, I don't really want to do too. I'm like, I'd have been like, okay, well, I actually plan on doing things like traveling, seeing things. And if you ain't doing that, then, versus, I mean, as a matter of fact, people thought, I mean, I felt, and now people like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. But at the time I was being pretty much joked at from my friends, because me and my wife, like our first, few dates, whenever I would drop her off, my wife went in for a hug and I grabbed her hand and I shook it. And then I walked off, and it was like, they were like, dude, like what in the world? So my wife, I mean, at the time, when we were recording, she would call us like, did I do something wrong? I'm like, no. She's like, well, I felt that the date went right. It went right. Well, I just noticed that whenever you left, I'm like, what? She's like, you shook my hand. And I was like, right. Yeah. She was like, well, I just wanted to make sure that, I mean, I do like you. And I'm like, no, I like you too. Well, see, she wasn't used to that. And so what I told her, look, if I would have hugged you and felt your breast touch me, you would have set off some fireworks that I did not want set off at the time. So you would have been sitting there asking me, you're not packing a gun, are you? I mean, I'm like, no, I know myself. I knew myself well enough that had she had hugged me or anything like that, and I'm sitting there trying to keep myself well all until we get, no. It was just like, oh man. But so that's why I shook her hand, and that's what
But that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I grew up again in a house before I left home with a father who had 8 wives. And every one of them got younger. The last one when I left home, I was 14 going on 15, and his new wife was 19 and pregnant, and he was almost 50. And like, I had enough. It was too much. Plus, I mean, I hate to badmouth him like this, but I'm going to be real. He was the kind of guy who would send the wife away for the weekend, and she would think she's having a great girls' weekend because he had such young wives who still wanted to go out and party and have a good time. And then I would be paying the hookers out of the back door when they were coming home from the weekend, because he had so many girls all over the place, dude. And I'm dead ass serious. Okay. So like, it was hide the drugs, pay these girls, get them out the back door, get them to a driver, blah. Like, that was my job. And it was never to be spoken of. So, growing up around that, I didn't have a really good gender idea of what a good relationship was. And like his buddies were all my uncles and stuff who would spend the weekend and do these crazy things in front of me. So it wasn't easy. And, you know, I didn't know a good relationship. So I think my first marriage, the bad part I played in it was my career came first, always. And that's what I'll say I probably caused into the demise. But I also settled for a really banged up person who I felt like, because he was the only thing he didn't do to me was cheat, that I was okay with it no matter whatever else he did to me, which was wrong. So, you know, in finding this relationship that I'm in now, when I tell you I did everything wrong to this poor guy from the beginning, the poor man for the first 2 years watched me do anything I could possibly do wrong to someone, because I think I was trying to make sure I wasn't the one who was going to get hurt again. And he would just look at me every time I'd do something stupid and be like, "Are you done yet? I'm not going anywhere. I'm still in love with you. Are you over it yet? Are you getting that I'm not going anywhere?" And like, you know, it took me a long time to wake up to that. And thank God he stuck around, because, you know, it's 13 years later. And I mean, we're like a genuinely happy, in love couple. And he's never stopped courting me to this day. Like, he's away now 80 to 90% of the month. He sends me things every day, whether it's love notes, presents, tokens, whatever. He makes sure that he's still trying to impress me. He has only spent the night twice at my house in our entire relationship, because we're trying to set a precedent for Lane. I don't want him to see me just having somebody come in and out of my bed. Right. So the times he's had to stay here were like critical times. One was recently when we lost electricity with the storm we had. He didn't have electricity in his house, so he stayed overnight. And it was the second time that he's ever done that before. And like, Lane was fine with it, but to me, it's like, I'm not married. And I don't have this guy coming in and out of my house. I don't do things like that, you know? Like, it's just, I want him to see the respect that John gives me and that I give him, so that he does the same thing. Because if I behaved like my parents, God only knows what would have happened. So, especially being a woman. So, you know, and we have every intention to get married. And, you know, he asked Lane last year if he could marry me. We have always intended to get married, but it was me who put my hands up first. Like, look, marriage really scared me after what happened to me. I got financially ruined for a while. Like, I really need to take my time with it. And when I finally said, okay, he went to Lane last year and he was like, "I really want to marry your mom. I think it's time. And how would you feel about it? Because it's really up to you." And Lane was like, "I love you. I think you take wonderful care of me and my mom. And I think you're a great person." And no, I say no. And here's why. I'm the man of the house right now. I'm already 14 years old. I've had this woman my whole life, just me and her to ourselves. And I share her with you. And when it's time for me to go to college and be a man, you can have her. But you can't have her until then. And I would appreciate if you just gave me the last couple of years that I have at home with me being the man of the house. Because if you come in now and throw your balls out on the table and it becomes you're in my mom's house, I'm going to have to answer to you at some point, because you're not going to like the way that I talk to her, or she talks to me, or we fight, or something happens. And then we have a rift between us that's never existed in 13 years. Why would we start fighting now? Do you want to start fighting me as a teenager? And my boyfriend was like, holy crap. You know, he was shocked. But, you know, the three of us sat down after that and I agreed. So I'm not getting married until I'm 50 and Lane is going to college, because I promised him that I wouldn't do that to him. And that's it. And I think that the fact that we both agreed that it was the right thing to do made Lane happy. Yeah, you know, he doesn't ask for much, and I can see where he's coming from. He wants to start fighting with his father figure now.
Wow, yeah, that's really, really good of him, though. I mean, for him to be that age and to even be thinking like that, I love it, because it's showing that he's thinking critically and logically, and it definitely seems like he is really on a good path. I mean, I love hearing that. I really love hearing that.
But I try to practice what I preach, you know, and like he said, he's right. I had a really rocky relationship with all of my step parents, and a lot of it had to do with, all of a sudden you want to talk to me like you're my mom or you're my dad. You want to be able to inflict rules or have an opinion on what goes on in this house. And I agree with Lane. He's right, because they have this wonderful relationship now. What if it turned into a real father-son thing? That could be a problem when they have a conflict. And that's not fair to put me in that position, to have to fight between them, put him in that position because it's his house, or put my boyfriend into a position where all of a sudden now he's being criticized by someone else too, when we've all been three happy the way that we are.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
Why do that?
Right. That's good though. I mean, because I mean, like I said, you by doing that too, you keep a lot of attention. Because one thing that's gonna happen is, you know, Lane is gonna continue to grow and mature, and then it really gonna turn into a testosterone battle.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
buddy. Because
You're gonna have, you know,
you're
I
gonna
don't
have
need
you're
to
gonna
have
have your
that.
boyfriend. This is my woman. You're gonna have Lane. This is my mom. You're gonna have boyfriend. Yeah, this is my love. And you're gonna have Lane. Well, I've been with her since this and been through hell and high water, seeing what my mom went through, and you ain't just about. I
Mhm.
mean,
Exactly.
ooh, the
Exactly.
boyfriend gonna feel like he gonna you his, and I gotta protect you. And Lane gonna feel like, no, I'm the protector. I mean, so
Exactly. Exactly. You're 100% right.
man,
Like he gives him much love and much credit for how good he is to me, to both of us, how what a good person he is, a good role model, how he's shown him a lot of guy stuff or helped him through a lot of becoming a man things, but he doesn't want to damage that relationship because one night he and I get in a fight and he, in John's opinion, would go too far because he's a boy and he's going to say something terrible. And a father's reaction is going to be to knock the kid on his butt. Whereas my reaction may not be like that because I'm used to reasoning with him in a totally different fashion because I'm a woman.
right?
And I don't want to see any kind of conflict like that happen and ruin what's already been a great relationship for 13 years. You know, for what? For 3 years of what? Just being able to say we live together and have a ring on my finger. You know what I mean? It's kind of stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going to be there. No reason. We're okay the way it is. Why change? Why fix what's not broken when it could possibly get broken if we change it?
Yep. That's awesome though. That I mean, I just love hearing that though. I really, really love hearing that. How well he's doing, how good he's doing. It's surrounded. The number one thing that's cool too is that he's surrounded by love. That's the biggest thing. But then to also the fact that how things are just kind of lining up right now with the father, even though it means it's gonna be a slow process, whatever like that. Because like I said, I understand that Lane's gonna be, you know, which is it's gonna be normal for him to actually protect himself. He's gonna protect himself for a while until he see in time, okay, you know, and that's gonna be cool for you to actually be there for him to remind him, like, look, I'm not saying that your dad is not trying, but what I am saying to you, don't just be open to it. Just kind of still like you putting your tiptoe in that cold water. You know, it feels cold at first, but then the more you let it stay in there, it might start to get used to it. You get a little warm. And then you put your foot further in, all of a sudden the upper part of your foot feels real cold. Well, let that part get used to it. The deeper your foot goes, it's going to get cold again. So it's like, yeah, but don't just jump in, because if you do that and, you know what I'm saying, he end up disappearing again and make up excuses or something, I don't know what can happen. Maybe if he has a girlfriend, his girlfriend might not be up for it. I don't know. But the whole point is that in the end, his thing needs to be about his son, no matter what, because it never be too late. I mean, I don't know if I told you this before. Whenever I think I told my sons, I said, y'all seen more of me in 2 months than I seen of my dad in my whole entire life. So I told them how, like one day I was already married like a good 9 years or so, and my dad showed up to church, and everybody in church, he was there before I got there, and everybody in church knew who he was, and they just couldn't wait for me to get there because they thought once they announced him at church that I was just gonna look and go running and oh my God. They announced it. I just said, I waved, said, hey, there's like, are you gonna go? I said, no, continue. I was playing the piano at the time too for the church. So I was like, no, continue on. But they was like, you don't want to go? I'm like, look, just then if I'm like, look, y'all, I don't really know the dude. What do y'all want me to do? I mean, it's like this ain't about to be no. I was just like, I'll talk to him at the church. And when I talked to him, I went up and shook his hand, and we had a little conversation and whatever like that. And told him, here go my 2 sons and whatever like that. And but then as time went on, it built to where it was not no father and son relationship though. It was more of like a building like an associate friendship. I became like an advisor to him, kind of like what I do on this channel right now. That's what I was doing with him, to the extent to where he got his life together, got in church, became a deacon, whatnot, whatever. But I said, you know, if the fact that he turned out to do what he did and became what he became, I was like, that's really, really good. And I had no idea that he sat back and told me he watched my life. He would hide and all this stuff like that. When I went to church, he would hide in the little crack building somewhere that was near our church. He would hide and watch me faithfully go there, and then told me that actually he had to feel like God was real because he watched his own son grow up before his eyes, attending this church and growing and growing and growing and growing. And he was just like, and it inspired him. He's like, God had to be real for you to keep coming there faithfully and loyally. I seen you grow up before my eyes and all this and that, and I had no idea. So I mean, you just never know what lifestyle you live in might be able to change, because the fact that the Lane's dad can look at Lane and be proud of who Lane has become without him having nothing to do with it. So in a sense, they proud of that, but at the same time, they feel bad that they had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's what's going on right now. I think that we had, like I said, a lot of his family did, separated with me when I broke up with him, but there were a few hangers on who were, very decent people that are my ex-husband's cousins or a couple of close childhood friends who stayed in touch with me versus him. And I think that at some point he must have reconnected with them first. And they were always saying to him recently, like, oh my God, Lane is graduated 8th grade and Lane is such a big guy. And oh my God, he kind of looks like you. And, just stuff like that was coming up probably in his face. And one of the people who was on my Facebook knew that I was doing the chat with you. And apparently he checked you out and checked out our last talk. And I think that he caught the reparations chat. And that's when he reached out, which shocked me. But in the same token, it's like you're saying, I think, the one thing that Lane and I both gave him credit for was, when he was leaving, I could see him becoming emotional and nervous again and antsy. Like he's got a lot of anxiety and mental illness also that, is like legit mental illness that he needs medication for. And it was hard because he said to me in front of Lane, like, I'm really, really sorry that I haven't told you like, good job. Or, that I if I didn't say it to you before, I'm sorry that I haven't shown you any respect because he's a really nice kid. And I was like, that means a lot to me because frankly, anybody in the world could call me a good mom, but it really doesn't mean as much to me as it does from maybe hearing it from either my parents or you. Right. It means a lot to me to hear that because it's important to me that you would think that even though we went for 10 years of basically hating each other. Mm-hmm. I think I deserve that respect. And I think that the fact that I didn't badmouth you once to this kid to the point of where he would get mad at me and be like, well, tell me why you broke up or tell me what he did to you. Or I bet he did this to you. And my response to me was like, that's my beef with him. It's got nothing to do with you and it's none of your business. You got a problem with him and your issues with him are yours. And I respect that. Right. Don't ask me about mine because that's not fair to do. You can ask him about it if he wants to say something. Fine. I don't. It's not your business. And that's the way it's got to be. That's my beef, Chief, not yours. And that would be it. So I think that he realized, I think he thought probably assumed for a long time that I probably talked a lot of bad about him because I had a lot of bad happen with him. And I didn't. And I think he realized that upon re-meeting Lane. And he was, appreciative and finally considerate enough to say like, I should have shown you some respect. Like, he's a really nice kid. You're doing a good job. And I was like, thank you. That means a lot to me, whether you believe it or not, than more than probably anyone else would say to me because he's your son.
That's right.
It's important to me that you understand that I've done nothing except try to devote being any kind of parent I could because you had no parents and I had shitty parents. So between the two of us, God knows what we were thinking, wanting to be parents together. But for whatever reason, I felt like it was just the right thing at the right time for me. And I'm happy being a mother. Like it's not as scary like I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Or it's not, if anything, I only felt anger in the beginning because I didn't understand again, like why I was let go or when Lean was 6 months old, that's when I was given up. Or brought to an orphanage. Like I could never have done that in a million years. So how did somebody do that to me? Why?
Right. It's it's amazing that, where you at right now, of course, a lot of things come into play, but I say that all the time too. Like I cannot see myself leaving my sons. You know what I mean? Like I just sit there thinking like I do know because I talk to a lot of men that did it, but I know how they did it, but I can never get to the point where I can say, but I understand why they did it, but still I'm like, but it's your son. Like, you don't think like, man, the dude, he can get beat up, he can get killed, but I guess to them, it's like, if it's out of sight, out of mind. Well, if his mom ain't telling me, but I'm like, okay, even if his mom is not telling you, do you yourself worry about your son? Like,
exactly.
I just couldn't.
What? I'll let the auntie on that one. I could forgive my biological parents before I could forgive my adoptive parents, because my biological, I now know exactly why I was sold and what the motive was. Like, my biological mother had me and my twin sister when she was 12. She had been molested by, I don't know if it was our father or grandfather. And she was able to get money for me and for my sister. And it became such a great amount, considering that they literally were like we've talked about, a different level of poverty, you know, like no running water, no electricity, no sewage, like that kind of lifestyle. When they got bank from selling me and my sister first, she got pregnant every year for almost 13 or 14 years. And every single year that was her payday. And we were made to sell after that. So, you know, and knowing this and knowing that it was incestuous and how horrible of a thing it was, the fact that I was given up was a blessing from God, because who would have wanted to live in that kind of a situation? And I could forgive that for a long time before I could forgive my adoptive parents for having been abusive and for having treated me in the way that they wound up doing. I mean, my dad let me go when I was 14 years old, and my mother never talked to me again after the divorce, because I'm on the stand in court when they got divorced. They had made the child get on the stand in the 80s and say who they wanted to live with. And I felt safer with my dad. And also, my mom moved my stepdad in the day my dad left. So we knew up front that she had an affair. We didn't know yet that my dad did also, because he just left home. And we didn't see him for like 6 months. And then when we finally saw him, he was with a 17-year-old girl who was pregnant, you know, as a 40-year-old man. And so like they both had been doing wrong. But bottom line, she was so angry about it, she let us go. So I lost her. She didn't fight for me. I went in with my dad. He didn't fight for me when I tried to leave. So like I had so many rejection. All the step parents I didn't get along with. So there was such rejection across the board with so many parents. It was like, I could forgive, for a long time, I forgave my biological before I could forgive my adoptive parents, which is really rough, you know, in a situation like that.
Yeah, you know, I think that I think what the damage in that is that, you know, even though you were adopted, and it is something I learned from having my pediatric patients, as a child and you're growing up, these children, like even now, the children that I've had as pediatrics, these children don't know that at that time, you talking, what was I doing therapy? 8-9 years ago. These children didn't look at me as being Mr. Ty, the therapist who's helping me, you know, with my disability. They looked at me as if I was a relative of theirs. Like, these kids don't know how not to place you in their mind as I love Mr. Ty. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they place you in their minds. Like, I communicate with these kids still. One of them found me 3 days ago. One of my ones, I love her to death. I still have her. I'm gonna do a little thing on here. I still have her pictures that she's drawn me every year that I've had it with her. And when she was like, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you know, now, you know, she's older now, but just the fact that I still have those, I'm able to communicate with her. But they place you in they place you in their heart as being this person that you can literally seriously hurt them, as if it was you as their mom or their uncle. This is where they place you. So that's why I say, like, even though you were, you know, you guys were adopted, even if you wasn't adopted, even if you were just staying with them, the fact that you put that love into them and that trust into them, and for them to break it, it can just be completely detrimental. Because a kid, it's just like when you're in a relationship, you don't choose the day and the time to tell your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband.
And in my mind, you went so far as to know that you couldn't have children together. My mother had apparently like 7 years of miscarriages before they were on an adoption list for the state, which was a forever long list. And like when it really got to the point where my mother was desperate, my dad had connections in Colombia, don't ask, and he got me. And he got me semi-illegally, and already had a social security card for me when I walked into this country at a year old. So, you know, and I wound up doing it the legal way when I was 7 and becoming a citizen. But prior to that, like I said, I don't have a birth certificate. I have a receipt. That's what my adoption paper, like it's messed up. And like, it really bothered me, even at 7, like through their divorce, of not only the betrayal of both of them having had these like separate lives we didn't even know were going on, but the betrayal of both of them fighting over who got stuck with us. It's like, yo, you went so far to go to another country and pay money to do this and pick us out and take your time picking and choosing children, only to say like, well, you take them. Oh, well, you take them. Well, I'm going to have stepkids and get married in a month. Well, my new girlfriend's having a baby. I'm going to have another baby in the house. I don't want these kids either. Like, to hear your parents saying that in front of you when you're 7 and 8 years old, like she and I, my sister and I were, it was like, what the hell?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
if they could give us up right now, they would get rid of us again. Like, why did you, like, I was angry. I was really angry, and she was hurt. I was like, how could you, like, why would you even say that in front of me? And here I am thinking that I'm special because you said for a while we're special because we got picked, and now we're a burden because we don't come because we're part of a marriage you guys want to forget.
Exactly.
To the point where they both got their marriage annulled, and we didn't even exist in the church anymore.
Wow. Yeah. See, having no idea.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. You put that all into them, having no idea that they can actually burn you really bad like that. That's what I'm saying. Nobody like to look and talk about the long-term effects of stuff like that. It's just to them.
It's long-term, dude. It really was. It really took me. I mean, when I sank myself in and was an addict for a long time, I think a lot of that was numbing out. It wasn't even just, it had physical pain too, but I really, I didn't want to have feelings anymore. I think I was just so hurt and so banged up after all the stuff I'd gone through. And when I finally could sit back and take a breath and kind of realize everything that happened to me, I didn't want to deal with it. It was I can't have feelings anymore because I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm bitter, I'm all these things that aren't good. Drugs really helped me numb that out. And once I realized that I was really not taking it myself anymore because I had to, it's because I needed to, I got help. So I was like, this isn't me either. I'm going to destroy my whole life that I worked so hard for. What am I doing? And that was it. I got sober.
Man.
But, everybody has reasons for doing stupid stuff like that. And I definitely know where my demons came from.
Right. And see, that's why I say it's so important. And that's why certain people, especially amongst the religious world, that's why I'm so different from a lot of other ministers and a lot of other people that I got minister friends that we all came up in the same way, but I'm completely broken off from what I call religious thing because this is the part that they do not understand. That's why I was so crazy. A lot of Christian folks are so quick to want to judge other folks for what they're doing. I mean, I have a ton of people that jump on my channel. You're supposed to be a minister and you listen to this song right here. Do you know that song has I'm like, look, okay, this channel been up here for 2 years. Tell me if all of a sudden I'm like, I got a demon in me. The music I mean, it's like, dude, come on. I know what I'm doing right here. But my point is that a lot of people want to be so quick to judge folks and put things on folks having no idea what a person went through. So that's what I'm saying. People that you talk to folks at AA meetings, you talk to veterans, PTSD, all these folks have some reason. And that's why I say there was an instance in the Bible where they caught the woman in adultery. They pulled her out and threw her in front of Jesus and was getting ready to pretty much the law was saying to stone her. She deserved to be stoned. And Jesus said, whoever does not have any sin in their life, throw the first stone. Nobody threw anything. But I told them, even though people look at that part right there, they look at that and say, see, they just go show that everybody has something in them. But I'm like, no. I get that everybody noticed that. But my part that I noticed the most was this. He said, you that does not have any sin, throw the first stone. It said everybody dropped the stone and they walked away. And what part that people don't catch a lot is when Jesus was with her by himself. So now she with the person that can literally, the perfect person that can judge her for what she's done. The only person that can really judge her. So when she was alone with him, he said, where's your accusers? She said, I don't have none. He said, well, I don't condemn you either. Just don't do it again. That's simple. But now today, a lot of people want to know, you need to come to church and come with me. You need to come to church every day. We're going to pray every day up here. We're going to smack oil on you. And I mean, it's like, what the heck? I got to go through a 15-step program with simply when Jesus was with her by himself. He just said, look, I understand. Just don't do it again. Boom. But we don't do that to people today. We got to have I'm going to be the one that can save you. You have to trust me. The heck? And that's what I'm saying. That whole judgmental attitude. Well, I don't know about that. She's sitting up there doing some drugs. What you need to do. No. You have no idea why a person did what they did. You don't know what hurt they went through. You don't know what pain they went through, what hell they went through to do what they're doing. So, I mean, that's why I'm saying I learned that. And,
with all the chaos that's going on right now, I think that one of the things that I've tried to keep clean and just have in my house in general is there are 2 or 3 basic rules walking in my house, and not being judgmental is one of them. And I really take it seriously. And I think Like, even when it comes down to what's going on with all the rioting and stuff like that, you know, with the cops and stuff. Look, I was never a huge fan of the cops, having come from the hood. They were the enemy, and that's how I was taught to believe while I lived there, because of what happened to my friends who got locked up or who were in trouble. My ex-husband was an inmate for, like I said, 8-9 years, you know, like he was institutionalized. I did not have a good opinion. But that said, I think that, like, when I saw Lane have an incident where he needed to call the cops for a friend who was having a health issue, and he was afraid to. And I was like, why are you afraid to? And he's like, well, you see how they talk about the cops. What if something bad happens? And I was like, okay, you have to think of it like this. As somebody who's a medical worker, goes into the field generally, and not all of them, but in general, because they want to help their community. They want to service people. They want to help people get better. Policemen do the same thing. In general, not everyone. There's going to be a bad apple in every crowd. Okay, that's life. But in general, a lot of these people get into these careers that are helping people, firefighters, policemen, because they want to generally really help and serve their community and make it a better place. And you can't judge every person because of one bad incident or two bad incidents you're seeing now, and how the media and the propaganda are building them up to be too. That doesn't mean you should be afraid either. Like, I hate seeing you afraid to call an authority figure because of what you're seeing on TV.
Right.
That's just sad. You know, it's like there's never, nobody's perfect. And who knows what these cops have seen after 20 years of working in freaking the hood, like a hood like I was in. God knows there's reasons they become jaded. There's reasons doctors become less empathetic, because they probably had 100 people that they tried to survive, to help survive, die on the table, and it broke their heart. There's a reason people get to a point where they're not as affected emotionally, or they put up a wall, or however they do to deal with what they're going through, because they've been through it. Okay. But you can't have that mentality about every single one of them, because that's just not that's not healthy for you to feel that way. They're generally there still to help you and to be there for you and to help you in a crisis. That's what the whole point of it is.
Yeah.
To protect you, to serve and protect you. So don't be afraid if you're going to have to call someone at one point, like you were supposed to, you know, and stop and think twice about it. I hate that you're feeling that way right now because of what you're seeing going on. Because he was just scared in general to even call 911.
That's crazy.
Like, that's awful.
That's crazy. That just shows you the mentality that has been pressed upon people, you know, is that, you know, that's what makes it sad. I mean, I say it all the time that even on this channel, that I'm able to click on a button right now and can see who's all watching me in the whole world. Like, it shows me how many, it shows me a lit up part in China, it shows me a lit up part in the United States, it shows me lit up parts in Russia, lit up parts in Australia. And I'm like, if I'm allowed to see that, if the whole whoever does this on YouTube, I'm pretty sure there's stuff way more powerful than what I can see. But my point is, if they can see that all these people around the world is watching this specific news channel that's saying, oh, they're going to out there lynching us and they're doing this and they're doing that, then they know, like, look, all these people that tuned in to us right now. We know that if there are 60 million folks watching us right now, and of that 60 million, you know, 25 million is in America, they know that at least of that 25, there's going to be half of them is going to believe what we're saying, you know. So I mean, it's crazy. It's just, and you know who believes it, because you can hear the talk. Man, these police out here. I'm like, dude, we was not saying anything bad about the police, not even 6 months ago. Now all of a sudden, the police them are all bad, like all of them are. I mean, my God, that's what I'm saying. Some of this stuff, if people stop and thought about it, they'll see how much nonsense it is. I mean, we being lynched. I mean, these people on there, we tired of being lynched. What black person do you know? I mean, I grew up in the ghetto. I have not even heard of any black person that ever got pulled out their house and got lynched. And even if they hung them and burned them, I've never heard of it. And even now, like I near, like now I live I live on the other side of the lake. I mean, not the lake, the river, but in St. Louis, during the Michael Brown thing, there was a guy that was found hung. And there, I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody's like, well, you know, some white. First of all, I mean, they found out that it was not a white person that did it, you know, and I'm just saying the fact that they making it seem like they have it out there like we are literally getting pulled out of our house by white folks. And I mean, it's just the stupidest thing. Nobody being lynched.
I know,
but
it's crazy. I agree.
So yeah,
it's nuts.
That's the world we're in, though. But
I know.
that's why I got to make sure I keep doing what I'm doing and keep on trying to educate folks, keep them enlightened, teaching people that don't believe news, don't even believe me. Go and look at the stuff for yourself. Go out there in your real world where there's real people and see if any of this stuff is going on. Now, most people that do it, they be like, man, Ty went out and you right. Nobody was really panicked. Like nobody was really scared. And, you know, I make them question things because they're like the common sense is left. Like, okay, wait, so why do they want us to send in the mail-in ballots? They said we're going to send in the mail-in ballots because it's to protect us. I'm like, well, then why don't they tell you that at the grocery store? I just want them to ask these simple questions. Well, you know, you go to the post. There's people that go to the post office right now to stand in the line. You go to a restaurant. You go to Burger King or McDonald's, and you go in there. Any of these places go, they got little tape marks on the ground making you stand. So you telling me you can do that to all these businesses, but you can't do that at a poll? So that's what I'm saying. I just want people to think about stuff like that. That means if you mail stuff in, okay, whatever, cool. But I'm just simply saying the fact that they're making it seem like why they saying things like, why you want to risk your life to go and mail in things when you can risk getting corona, but you risking your life when you went to the grocery store that don't even have 6 feet markers when you walk through the aisle passing people all throughout the grocery store. Just little things that they don't think about. So
it's crazy.
So yeah.
This is Jersey, man. Out here, I don't know. I went to PA this weekend and it reminded me because I got out I pulled into the gas station to get gas and I'm sitting there waiting. And finally, some dude like tapped on my window, and I got nervous. I'm like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "You got to pump your own gas here, lady. I saw you got Jersey plates." I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't know that." So I wound up like, it's funny because in Jersey they have the gas attendants walk right up to your car. We don't stand 6 feet apart. They lean their head into your window and ask you if you want what gas you want, and if it's cash or credit. In PA, you have to pump your own gas, which was an experience itself because I can't do that apparently. So I needed help.
Wow.
Not good at that. Yeah, I didn't know how to open the gas tank. It was hilarious. Actually,
what?
Yeah. Well, you have to push on it. Like, okay, I always had vintage cars. I always had like my last car was an 81 Firebird before I got the new car I have. So like I'm used to old cars. This one you have to like push on it so it opens. And I didn't know that. I just went to pull it, broke a nail and freaked out and was like, "Are you kidding me?" And Lean got out and he's like, "Mom, watch this." And he just pushed it and he was like,
pushed it and clicked
"Oh, okay." He's like, "Dude, 3 degrees, right, Mom?" I'm like, "Get in the car, shut up. Like, leave me alone."
No.
And then I'm trying to work it and I'm like, what do I do? And then finally, just thank God this guy came back out. He's like, "You have to go inside first and tell them how much gas you want." And I was like, "I don't know how much gas I want. I never what do I estimate? Do I guesstimate? What the hell are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, just whatever you think how much gas you're going to need." I was like, "I have no freaking idea. I'm just going to guess, I guess." I was like, "I'm going to get enough to get back to Jersey so somebody can pump my goddamn gas." And that's the end of it. I don't know what I'm doing. Jersey's different.
Holy
We don't do that
smokes.
here.
I guess if you
somebody does it for you.
I guess if you grew up having that, you would be like because I would, if I went to Jersey and somebody walked into my car, hey, hold on, what you doing? I mean, it's like,
yeah, exactly. And when he walked up to my car, I was
hey,
like,
man, I'm just
he
trying to
doesn't work here, so what does he want? You know, like waiting to see if he wore. I was like, what do they wear? Plain clothes here? They don't wear a uniform like in New Jersey or New York. And when he tapped on my window, I was like, "Can I help you?" And he was like, I was like, "Do you work here?" And he's like, "No, you have to pump your gas. I see you kind of waiting here. You have Jersey plates, so you know you don't pump your gas, right?" I was like, "Oh my god, I totally didn't know that. Holy crap, what do I do?" And he laughed at me, and then Lane helped get it open. I had to go inside. I made a total jerk of myself because I was arguing with the cashier, like, "I don't know how much gas. How much do you think I need?" Like a jerk. You know, with Ling making fun of me and stereo sounds, I was like, "Leave me alone. Just get me to Jersey and I'll let somebody else do it. I don't know what I'm doing." Wow. In New York and New Jersey, you don't pump your gas. So it's totally different.
Wow. I don't think in my whole entire life, not only have I never heard of this story, but I've never even seen a full service.
Wait, I was going to say, do you pump your gas?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. No, in New Jersey, New York, you don't do that.
Get the heck out of here.
I never had that happen. And like, I've driven obviously abroad and like all these, and like that was there. It made sense to me, but I didn't know literally across PA because I'm always like going on a full tank of gas. I'm one of those people that like, I get a quarter tank down and I'm like in a panic attack. So I'm OCD like that. And I let my gas go down a lot because I drove really far distance, and I was like, shoot, I have to get gas now. And I had no idea that that's how it was.
That is really
It's full service
interesting.
in Jersey and New York.
I mean, I'm just
you're
thinking
not allowed
like
to pump your own gas. It's illegal.
to pump your own gas.
You cannot do it in the state of New Jersey. They can call the cops on you, and they will not allow you to touch it. You literally will get arrested. You're not allowed to touch the pump at all. It's the law. You don't get out of your car.
So wait a minute. So then, do they get paid? Do you tip them or something? Or I mean,
well, it's not customary to tip gas attendants, although like most people do in summer, like out of courtesy because it's hot, or if it's like really cold out. Like I generally will give $1 or $2 depending upon how much gas I use, but in general, no, it's not a consensus to tip. It's not like a waiter or something. But I generally, yes, I do because I'm just that person. But I don't know a lot of people who do. But I mean, the person gets minimum wage, and you are not allowed to get out of your car, and you are not allowed to pump your gas. It is completely illegal to do that here.
What?
I've never seen anybody try to do it.
What
even diesel, you're not allowed, because my boyfriend has diesel truck. Like even diesel, they have certain gas attendants where you're not allowed to touch it.
Dude,
they wear uniforms, like you're not, like they're not dressed like normal people. They wear a uniform or a vest so you know they work there. And you have to wait until they come up to your car and ask you, what do you want, cash or credit? And which, 89, 93, whatever. And you tell them and they fill it. And when it's done, they do your windshields while you wait.
They do?
And that's it. Yeah. If you ask them, they'll check your oil or your tire pressure also, but usually most people don't do that. You do it yourself, but they do your windshield wiper in your back.
Heck? Mm-hmm. Dude, I don't know if I feel like, I'm like, dang, y'all got it made.
I just saw Leafy. She says she's always pumped her gas. Good for you, girl, because I have never pumped my gas. I mean, ever.
I'm talking
in
like
my life.
I'm talking like, I think that, I mean, that's all cool, but I feel like y'all might have like a lost skill. Like I can sit there and tell you, if I want to put my truck on a half a tank, I know it's going to be $27.89 to put my truck on a half a tank. I mean,
now you know that. I would have no idea. All I know is that I wait until I get down like a quarter tank, maybe half a tank at the most, and it's probably going to cost me anywhere from $20 to $30. That's basically how I do it in my head. But like literally this weekend, I had a gun in my mind. I was like, I had a gun in my head to tell her, how much are you prepaying me for the gas? I was like, I really don't know. I had no idea what to say. I was like, well, what if I say $20 and like I don't use that much? She's like, well, then we'll deal with it when it happens. I mean, you can come and get changed. And I was like, really? I had no idea. I mean, I sounded totally stupid, and I guess I was stupid, but I really don't know.
No, you just didn't know.
I had no idea.
Dude, that is crazy.
I've never paid attention to the price of gas or something like that, because we pretty much are just used to somebody else doing it for us. Like, I don't know how much it's going to cost me. We just go in and assume, like, okay, I've had this car for, a month, and this is how much it generally costs to fill it every time I go, so it must be around this much, and we estimate. But we don't tell the gas attendant, like, yeah, I'm going to put $20 of gas in my car. Like, no, you hand over your card first, or you can say, like, if you have a limited amount, you might want to say, like, just $10 of whatever, 89, 93, and you can do that. But overall, if they're going to fill it, you wait until they tell you how much it is, and they do your windshield wipers while you wait.
So wait a minute. So you pull up. So when you pull up to the gas station, do you pull up to a actual pump first?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
so when you pull up to but what if it's like 9 of y'all there?
You can't touch the pump. There has to be someone there. There's no gas station allowed to be open without at least 2 attendants there.
Wait, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that let's just say if you pulled up to the gas station, there's 6 other cars there. Is there one person that tries to go around and hustle to get everybody taken care of? Or
yeah. Like if it's a big gas station that has maybe, if you have more than like 4 pumps, there's going to be at least 2 people there, because you're going to be at most of the gas stations here nowadays, especially, are like convenience centers with it. Like we have a place called Wawa, or a place called, there's Quick Check, there's 7-Eleven. Those all have gas pumps also. So like say you have 12 gas pumps or 16 gas pumps, there's going to be at least 1 person for every 4 pumps or so to make sure they can keep up with it.
Okay, got you. So now, so when you sitting in this is really fascinating. So when you sitting in your car, The person comes up to you and you can hand them the money and say, I want $15, and they take it in the store. What do?
No, they take it in there. They carry huge lots of cash around with them.
They what?
They carry huge wads of cash on them.
So they got like a darn Sonic belt on to where they can spit the change out.
$100 in singles. They'll have another 105, another 110s, another 120s, and like they walk around with probably $1,000 to $2,000 of cash on them at one time. Every person.
Are they packing?
Every attendant. Are they what?
Packing like they got some heat, a gun?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they do have. They have.
I just don't know.
Weapons. They have weapons in between where they sit.
How?
And they also have security cameras everywhere, and they have like buttons they can push that literally like block off the entrances to everything before the cops come.
I mean,
they were the most robbed people like in the 80s and 90s before that kind of security existed. The most knocked over places in New Jersey were gas stations because these guys carry around sick amounts of cash. But that's how they work. I mean, they literally, if you come into Jersey and you pay cash and you hand somebody a 20 and you spend $5, like you won't believe the amount of cash that you'll see them with out of their pocket. They make change.
That sounds like you are in another freaking country right now. Like this just does not.
I'm laughing at Avery. He's like, "I'll take $2 and she says something too." That's hilarious.
I mean, I'm just saying because I'm just thinking about things like even like folks that got like, I mean, you know, I'm getting ready to mow my grass, but this little, you know, my little gas canister only gonna hold like maybe $1.78. Matter of fact, I don't know what it's gonna hold. So,
oh no, you can't do that. You have to give it to the gas attendant to pump it for you. You're not allowed to like fill a gas can. You're not allowed to carry a gas can in your car in New Jersey. It's illegal.
What are you gonna do with it? How do you
it's against the law. Like I had Ashley, my friend, broke down a few weeks ago, and I had to buy a gas can because she ran out of gas. And I bought gas, so the gas attendant filled it for me. I paid him. And then he gave me like a special sticker to put on it so that if God forbid I got pulled over, I have permission in an emergency situation to be carrying the gas can. Otherwise, if it has gas in it, you're busted and you get a ticket and you have to go to court. So you can't carry gas on you. That's what we have the DOT for here. If you like run out of gas, the DOT runs up and down the highways all the time, 24/7, so that they can assist you unless you have AAA.
Dude, so this is crazy. So okay, so you can't like okay, this is really bizarre. I can't even get my words. Okay, if my lawnmower ran out of gas, I can't put my gas canister in my truck and drive to the gas station.
You can get gas at your gas station for it. You shouldn't have gas out at your home, and if you do, you're going to have, like I said, some kind of sticker and a special permit, like thing that says on it that you're allowed to be permissibly doing this in an emergency situation. Or if a cop pulls you over and sees that, you're going to get a ticket, and they're going to ask you why you're doing it because of so many people being afraid that you're selling gas illegally.
What? Who thinks about selling gas?
Dude, I don't know. I didn't make the law. I'm just telling you, like, it's for real. Because when I had to bring it to, like I said to my girlfriend recently, like the guy made a point of telling me, like, make sure you have this sticker. And I was like, dude, I'm going like 5 miles down the road. I mean, she's pulled over in a residential area. It's not like I'm going down the highway with this. And he's like, you're not supposed to have this. Like, you know, I don't want to get in trouble because you're going to say that you got this gas from me. And if you do, then if I
like y'all
sticker,
talking about drugs.
Go to jail.
Y'all sound like y'all talking about. Wait a minute. So, what do people do about their lawns? You got to have a permit sticker for your gas canister. Yeah,
you have to have permit stickers for that. Like if you're gonna like fill your John Deere mower or whatever in this country and stuff, you either have to take that to a gas station or you have to get permission with like a special gas can that's a color of a certain kind if it's for farming and like there are all different rules.
Wait, time out. You wait, y'all got color-coded stickers. Y'all got color-coded.
Kimberlini's like, I'm shocked. This is true. I'm telling you the truth.
You gotta have a color. Real. Wait, so if you got a blue sticker, that means that you're a farmer. If you got a green sticker, you a regular civilian. If you got a red
Right,
stick, I mean,
right. Yeah, like you
this
might
is
be,
the
if you're a
craziest.
fisherman and you're bringing it for a fishing boat that you can't get to a dock that has a gas. Again, even like you see, we boat all the time. If we're on a boat in New York on like Long Island Sound or the Hudson, or we're in Jersey driving the ocean, if we don't dock at a actual dock that has a gas pump that somebody's going to pump it for us, we can't get gas. You can't carry it. You have to be able to go to a dock and dock there and have somebody pump your gas. It is totally illegal to touch the gas tanks in the state or in New York.
Do y'all just like, were y'all known for being like the most arson state in the world?
Yeah, we're like the oil and refinery state in the entire country, and yet we can't touch the gas pump. Maybe there's something tied to that. I don't know. But we really can't. And like I said, the thing that always killed me is that these poor kids, these gas attendants are what? 20 years old, 18 years old. They're walking around with like literally $2-3 grand in cash in their pocket, like all day.
There is no way in the world that can go on in a place like Chicago. I mean, there's just no damn man.
Although it goes on in New York City, and like at the Attleboro, Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, they don't pump their gas. You have to have your gas pumped. You are not allowed to touch that.
I done been to I wasn't driving. I'm saying for a lot of track meets, I done been all in New York, and we've been to Jersey. I guess I just didn't pay no attention because we were. Because we were always because whenever they got gas, we went with them.
Yeah, and you probably, if you're in a bus or like a travel thing, you're not paying attention if somebody gets out of the vehicle. And probably people did get out of the vehicle because if there's convenience stores there, which there always are, like you can get out of your car and say, okay, so I'll just say like fill it with 93 and credit, and then that point I have to hand over my credit card. They give me the credit card right back, and I may want to go into the convenience store and buy a water or buy a fruit or something like that and come out. I can get out of my car to do that, but I cannot go near the pump. Like you don't even think of doing something like that. Like you're not allowed to touch them.
I do not feel like this is America that you are talking about.
I did not know how to use the gas pump, and I'm not stupid, okay? But like literally, it says I'm reading a sticker, and it's like, so pull the gas pump out and then lift the black nozzle. And I'm trying to, it took me 2 minutes to figure out what do they mean lift the black nozzle? Where's the black nozzle? I couldn't figure it out, and I was so embarrassed. And then my son yelling and mocking at me in the car was no help because he's like 3 degrees, right? Mom, okay, can you figure this out? Are we leaving today or what? I'm like, shut up, I'll figure it out. And like, again, that dude who helped me realize I was sitting there for no reason, because I literally was sitting there waiting for somebody to come. And then finally he was like, you have to pull this nozzle up. And I was like, oh, I didn't even see that. And he was like, yeah. It was bad. It was embarrassing.
Dude. So then, okay, because this is just
Avery, you can't pay with pennies. You would have to go into a convenience store or go someplace and get dollars. They don't accept pennies. They generally don't accept change. Like if I land on 1972,
I bet they do now with the change shortage.
They'll round it up if I don't pay with credit, and that's it. You can walk out.
Man, wait a minute. So, Kara, when you go there, when you hand them their credit card, what do they do with your credit card? They do it in the machine. I mean, in the actual.
They do it in the pump. There's like
that's what I was going to ask. Okay, I was wondering about that.
They swipe it. Usually like it holds anywhere from $20 to $30, and then when it's done, they charge you whatever it actually is, and that's it. If your credit card doesn't have the limit to say hold $20 or $30, you better have cash because they will reject you and tell you they can't take your card.
Right. Okay. I just wondered that. I'm just like, man, I just cannot phantom that is. I can't of all. I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved everything we talked about tonight. But this is just something that's just so strange. So okay. I know this is weird to you. You can tell I'm really enthused by this. So if you are there and a guy is pumping your gas, if you get out the car, he gonna look at you like, "What are you doing?" And you be like, "Oh, I'm about to go." You have to tell him. You have to tell him. You have to tell him.
If I were to walk to his side of the car, he'd ask me, "What are you doing?" Or what can I get for you? Like he would maybe think that I was going to do my own windshield wipers if he was busy because he's got 3 other cars. He may think I'm going to get the wand to like wash my car. But if I went anywhere near the pump or like didn't just go to a garbage can to throw out garbage and go near that wiper shield thingy, he would definitely be like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, or they might even say like, "Man, back up. We'll be right with you."
Y'all have
get back in your car. Like you go back to your car.
Y'all have a complete different definition. When we pull up somewhere, if it says full service, we know, ooh, they got the wipers here, they got the this, they got the. I mean, oh my God, dude.
I'm laughing at Rob. He's like, you're going to change this to woman forced to pump her own gas. I know. Yes, Brenda, you can get out and get a Coke, but like, you know, like I said, if I'm okay, my gas tank's on the passenger side, so I'm getting out of my side, so it's not as weird because I'm not on the side of the pump. But if you happen to have your pump on the driver's side, it would be really weird for you to get out while you're pumping gas. It's not normal. Like you'd wait until your gas is done and then drive the 2 feet over to the convenience part and go get your Coke. You wouldn't do it while you were waiting for your gas to be pumped because it's rude. You'd have people who may be waiting to get on that line. You have a gas attendant who's trying to help 3 other people. It's rude. We don't really get out of our cars and do stuff while we're getting gas. We wait until we're done or we do it beforehand because it's rude to the people who are also waiting to go. Yeah, like it's really like that.
I'm just thinking to myself how I would get out my car, swipe my card in the thing. I would choose unleaded. I'll put my gas pump in there. I'll put it on there, put the little thing down and click to where it's filling up. I'll run into there while it's filling up and pee and wash my hands and come back out. And I mean, I just cannot believe somebody, hey, what you doing? Hey, if you don't get your hands off me, I mean, I just, oh my God.
Dude, you would be like, dude, you have to come out and visit here just for that factor alone, because I think it would be hilarious for you to record yourself getting your gas pumped and seeing what I'm saying is real. Like, come during a busy, like noon when everybody is on lunch and they all hit the convenience store for something to eat and then decide to get gas at the same time. You'd be amazed at the lines that you're going to sit in. You'd be amazed at how, like I said, people don't get out of their car if you see that there's more than like one person waiting. You'd be crazy to get out of your car. You're gonna have people yelling out of the other car, like, "Yo, get the F back in your car! I'm waiting. I can't wait for you to get offline." There are fights. Like it's a fight. You don't do that. You're gonna get yelled at.
I'll be like, okay, so you want me to just whip it out right here and pee right in front of y'all? Because I'll pee right in that water y'all use to wipe the windows.
You should have peed first before you got in line for gas. You got to go that bad. Don't waste my time making me wait for you to get back in the car, okay? So that's exactly what somebody's going to say to you out their window.
I'm just thinking of a small little thing. This is crazy. If the dude is pumping my gas and I figure, okay, I got a lot of trash in my car, I'm going to get ready to take my trash out and go throw it in their garbage. You're supposed to give it to them?
Yeah, there's usually garbage cans that are by like the windshield wiper thing. So yeah, if I get a coffee and I drive an hour and I have an empty coffee and I'm getting gas, I can throw my coffee cup out. But it's generally like right next to the windshield wiper thing and not directly in front of or too close to the pump because you're not allowed to go near the pump. So they make it so you can't basically. And if you do, like you're going to get looked at like you're crazy or like you're up to no good. Like they look at you like you're doing something wrong. It's I don't know, maybe because it is a crime here. It's like a gas attendant will be nice at first and be like, "Can I help you? Can I help you? Get back in your car."
What the actual heck?
And then they'll look at the license plate to see if they're out of state, and maybe that makes more sense why, they would think they can get out and pump their own gas. Just like somebody thought I was nuts to be sitting in my car waiting. It was more nuts.
Dude, I am just flabbergasted by this. Okay. This is what's kind of scary for me, though. For them to take your card and do that means you don't have to put in a PIN number.
Right, no.
So that means somebody can have your debit card or something like that and go just fill like they tank up with gas.
Yes. That's why, like, out here,
crazy.
It's actually a really big thing. Like, it's funny you said that because one of the biggest things we had an issue with in 2019 in Jersey was whatever you do, if you have a credit card, use that. Don't use your bank or debit card because a lot of people were finding that the gas attendants were able to hack in and keep the card number after the fact. And
that's another reason why I was like, no, man. That is absolutely. Yeah. So then,
I don't use my bank card or my debit card to my actual bank account. I have like a PayPal card or a cash card from the Cash App, and I'll transfer money onto that, just like maybe $25, so that way I can't get robbed.
Man,
so it's a different way of life. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if somebody get caught siphoning the car, what is that, like a 5-year minimum sentence? I mean.
Well, I honestly don't know. I only know is that like it's really like
What
just
the heck
it's a known thing out here, which is like I was saying, it's funny to everyone else. Like, and I found it funny. And PA, I know I had people laughing at me in their cars and shit like that because they were like, "This lady's off the chain." But like, no, I'm not. I'm just used to somebody pumping my gas to where it's like, if I really try to do it myself, it's up front. They're going to think something is wrong with me, or that I'm high, or that I'm from another state. They'll look at my plate like it's not okay. It's not protocol. It's not acceptable. There's nobody who breaks this rule. You could be in the hood. You could be in the wealthiest. You don't. This is like a simple rule. You just don't break this rule.
I am so going to be looking into New Jersey law because I got to know why y'all. I have to know this stuff. I have to know this whole freaking got to have a permit sticker to have a gas canister. I mean, that is... Y'all a Democratic state, ain't you? No, I'm just joking.
No, we are a super, super blue state, and so is New York.
Oh
and
my God!
It's funny. I really think that's a part of it, but like it's always been this way, and it's
man. I'm surprised y'all for gas.
And I love though too that you said arson state. We are basically, if you drive the turnpike, we are the oil and refinery capital of the world, man. Next to like the Saudi Arabia, we really are. It's all gas. It's all it is. Our oil and gas, like on our highways that surround them. So, I mean, we're immersed in it, but we are not allowed to touch it, man. Absolutely not. You cannot do that shit. You will get in a lot of trouble for that.
Dude, I just cannot phantom this, man. I mean, I'll have my windows down like, hey, you didn't scratch where you're supposed to put it in there. Like, you look like you missed to hit the side of my truck a little bit. Like, I mean, I can.
Johnny T, I am very for real and I'm very serious. I'm not just playing with you. Like, I'm not a stupid person. I don't know how much of this talk you've heard or not, but like, I'm a pretty intelligent girl. And the fact that I don't know how to do this is because I haven't had to do it ever.
I think, you know what you giving me right now is what I give people on my reaction channel when they're like, you never heard this before? I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And they like, dude. Now I'm you going up talking about I don't know how much I'm supposed to put in there. I mean, that is so fascinating to me. I don't get it, Kara. Man, I think you died. I think she died, y'all. I don't mean she died. I mean the phone thingy. Hello. Are you there, Kara? What happened? Oh boy. Y'all know what's about to happen. I'm telling y'all right now, I think I have an idea. Yep, it did assist the other day. Like, I guess like when we got to like the 3 hour mark, it started doing the same exact thing wherever